What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto snaps at his family Minato Kushina bashing? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Pathetic. Thought one Sasuke Uchiha as a fangirl tried to latch herself to his arm like a disgusting leech. They were pathetic, all of them, from the idiotic fangirls to the weak braggers, pathetic and just plain useless. No one in the room sufficed as a teammate, they were all weak and would only slow him down. He looked over to Kiba who was bragging about being in 5th place. Honestly, he didn't think the 5th place was anything to brag about. Especially when you are the heir of a clan. Even that sad excuse of a kunoichi with bright pink hair had scored higher than him. He should be ashamed of himself. Class, can I have your attention please? Sasuke looked up, distracted from his brooding, and suddenly found himself mesmerized. Next to Iruka stood a young girl who was about 12 years old. She stood with grace and pride, her long hair reached her knees and seemed to shine golden in the sun that came through the windows. She had a heart-shaped face, innocent blue eyes, long curly eyelashes, full pink lips and adorable little nose. A smile graced her face, her expression was relaxed and serene and seemed to soften his heart. She wore a gray dress that was cut out at her belly showing an intricate seal. He couldn't see her back but he could see that it was cut out there too. Her left arm was completely visible except her elbow where she had bandages wound around it for support when throwing shuriken. Her legs were visible at the sides because her dress was slit. A black sash hugged her waist and was tied in a big bow at the back, making her even more adorable. She was quite small for someone her age, reaching 159 meters in height but looked slightly bigger because of her black wedge shoes, which were created to be durable and practical on the battlefield. All in all, she was a stunning beauty. Sasuke was confused when he felt something wet on his upper lip until he found out the cause of the wetness. He was having a nosebleed. And he wasn't the only one. All males in the room were having a massive nosebleed. The girls were too busy blushing to be jealous and Naruto was looking at them with a curious look in her eyes. "What happened to them, Iruka-sensei?" asked Naruto innocently. Even though she was a lot smarter now that she didn't act like a retard, she was as dense as ever. Iruka gave Naruto a nervous smile. "You don't need to know that yet, Naruto." Kyuubi was getting annoyed, though the reaction of the class was funny. He wanted to see their faces when they found out that their mysterious goddess was in fact the class's dead last. "Ahem, I think that your peers would like to know what is happening, don't you think so, Kit?" "Huh? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Thank you very much, Kurama-Nisan." Naruto walked to the front of the classroom with reserved, calm steps and lightly smiled at her mesmerized peers. She turned her head to Iruka who nodded in understanding. Iruka walked over to Naruto and raised his voice. "Class, meet Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto. Last surviving member of the Uzumaki clan. The Namikaze clan and the joined household of both royal clans, the Uzumaki Namikaze clan. Princess of Whirlpool and Konoha. And heir of the Kyukokugen or the Ultimate Eye." Naruto bowed politely. "Hello, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Nice to meet you all for real now." The whole room was deadly silent until. "The dobi is what? Omake." Sasuke's plan to defeat Itachi. Take 1. Allergic reaction. Sasuke laughed as a madman with a jar in his hand. Itachi was bound against a chair with fear evident on his face. "Please younger brother, anything but this." Sasuke smiled at his brother as he threw the contents of the jar on his brother. It was sticky and yellow with a sickening sweet smell coming off it. Itachi began crying as a baby, screaming for Sasuke to stop, but he ignored him like he wasn't even there. He gave the sign to his lackeys. "Release the beasts." Sasuke's lackeys, men with the same duck butts on their heads, opened the wooden cage and let out what lied within. A shit ton of bees. Itachi screamed as he was covered in bees. "No, I'm allergic to bees. Muahahahahahahahahah. Suffer Itachi, suffer." This was Sasuke's first master plan to defeat Itachi. It later proved to be a bad idea since Sasuke never found a way to make Itachi allergic to bees. "The dobi is what?" Sasuke was in complete denial. He couldn't believe that he got a nosebleed from just looking at the dobi. There was no way the young girl before his eyes was the dobi anyway. She was well-mannered, was beautiful, had good fashion sense unlike the annoying blonde, and came from 3 royal families. There was just no fucking, "What did you call me, you bastard?" She just called him bastard. And there was only one person who called him that. The Dobie. But there was no way. This had to be a dream. Wait, a dream. That's it, he was dreaming. Yep, dreaming. All he had to do was wake up from this nightmare and he would be back in the real world. But how was he going to wake up? He looked around the dusty classroom to find some means to wake up in the real world. Everything felt surprisingly real. He could smell, feel and see everything like it was actually real. But Sasuke would not be fooled. Uchihas never made a fool out of themselves after all. There's some obvious foreshadowing right there. He kept looking around the room only to find the answer right before his eyes. How didn't I think about this earlier? Sasuke raised his head as high as he could and smirked. You're not fooling me, stupid dream. I will wake up from you. With that mental declaration he slammed his head on his desk as hard as he possibly could, evidently knocking him out. Naruto just stared at the prodigy the whole time and could honestly say she was horribly confused. The heck's wrong with him? Last time she checked, people did not knock themselves out by slamming their head into something hard just for fun, and they didn't smirk victoriously before they did it either. He had to have drunk some really spoiled milk this morning because... God, did he make a fool out of himself? She shrugged Sasuke's behavior off and looked at the rest of her class. She soon noticed that Sasuke was not the only person to act strange. Shikamaru not sleeping was a huge reaction by itself, but when she saw him with his face in 50 shades of red, she started to worry a bit. Next to him was Choji, who had just spit his chips onto Shino's face. He was mumbling some random words which Naruto couldn't really understand except a few. Impossible and cute were 2 of them. Shino didn't really notice all the chips on his face. The reason to this was that Shino had done the most uncharacteristic thing ever. He fainted. Just like 50% of the room. Well, at least he still held the record of keeping a straight face for 12 years, even though he was unconscious. That's one thing, right? Kiba was, well, Kiba. He was whooping and screaming at her with a big grin on his face. Naruto, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me you're a totally hot chick? I thought we were friends. Naruto didn't answer and Kiba pouted childishly. Not that she didn't want to talk to him, but she was a bit busy observing the room and those who occupied it. Sakura was trying to wake up her Sasuke-kun. Ino was as red as the tomatoes Sasuke loved and Hinata looked strangely upbeat. This will be explained later. What's wrong with them? Oh God, are they sick? I knew something was wrong when blood streamed from their nose. Please tell me it's not contagious. Calm down, kid, the nosebleeds are a boy thing. And wouldn't you be shocked if the duck butt would suddenly become the most cheerful, talkative girl of Konoha? They're shocked, give them a break. You sure? Sigh, yes kid, I'm sure. If you say so. Naruto looked over to Iruka, who once again smiled at her nervously. You can go sit at your usual place, Naruto. Just ignore the rest. They're a bit shocked with the revelation. Naruto frowned, a slight crease appeared on her face. Shocked she could understand. But becoming red and fainting was something else. Who would faint over a change? Or in this case a reversal? She nodded at Iruka while still in thought and walked with regal poise to her seat next to the still unconscious Uchiha. She examined her desk. There were scratches and drawings all over it. There was one showing her in her henge defeating Sasuke, and there was one depicting her male counterpart grinning with the Hokage hat on his head. She smiled at the nostalgia the drawing gave her. Those were good times. She seated herself next to Sasuke and looked to the front of the class where Iruka stood. She groaned as she remembered that teachers always gave a long-ass speech when their students graduated, and she knew that Iruka was no exception. The man never even looked this eager to give a speech or preach. Now that the introductions are over, I want to tell you all how proud I really am. Naruto loved Iruka, she really did, but the man was just so boring sometimes. She didn't even bother to listen to him and decided to play some mental shugi with Kurama. Iruka was finally done and 30 minutes had already passed. Most of the students were already out of their confusion and or denial but kept glancing at the pure angel that sat in the same room. A fan club had already started to form and began searching for names to call Naruto. Pure angel, little goddess, and frail flower were a few of them. And honestly it annoyed the shit out of her. No wonder that the emo king had become such a sour puss. Talking about the Uchiha, he kept trying to not look at her the whole time and failed miserably. His eyes kept traveling to the blonde and he had to admit that he was mesmerized by the creature in front of him. Those sun-colored tresses, those slightly tanned cheeks and her strong superior aura made him want to bow to her while kissing her tiny feet. Not that he would do it. He was an Uchiha after all. Grown, how many times is he going to say that? Now for the teams. Naruto's ears perked up as she concentrated on the teams. Team 7 is Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno and Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Your sensei will be Kakashi Hitaki. Team 8 will be. Naruto groaned for the second time that hour. She didn't want to go on a team with Pepto-Bismol and the duck butt emo king. She just hoped that their sensei would at least make it bearable. She stood up from her seat as lunch break arrived, only to be stopped by Kiba. "Hey there Naruto-chan, where are you going?" he asked with a confident smirk. Naruto pointed at the clock. "Do you even have eyes, dog breath? It's lunch break. You know, the time when you leave class and go outside to eat your lunch." Kiba wound his arm around Naruto's waist, his grin almost splitting his face. "How about you and me have some lunch together? I'm sure we'll have fun together. Don't you Ga? What the hell, something bit me." Kiba screamed out when he felt something bite him in the neck. He reached for his neck to find the cause of his discomfort only to be kicked in the face by. She stood up from her seat as lunch break arrived, only to be stopped by Kiba. "Hey there Naruto-chan, where are you going?" he asked with a confident smirk. Naruto pointed at the clock. "Do you even have eyes, dog breath? It's lunch break. You know, the time when you leave class and go outside to eat your lunch." Kiba wound his arm around Naruto's waist, his grin almost splitting his face. "How about you and me have some lunch together? I'm sure we'll have fun together. Don't you Ga? What the hell, something bit me." Kiba screamed out when he felt something bite him in the neck. He reached for his neck to find the cause of his discomfort only to be kicked in the face by. Hinata was pissed. Very, very pissed. She did not like the way Kiba was handling Naruto, a fellow classmate and friend. Despite popular belief, Hinata was not as sweet and forgiving as people thought. She could be cruel, incredibly so, but hid this fact with the personality of her younger self. Who would think an innocent girl would be any threat? Her point exactly. Hinata was, for a lack of a better word, incredibly protective of Naruto. She was her best friend for years now and saw her like a younger sister. Something she never had. She did have a younger brother though. His name was Hanabi. Hanabi was 2 years younger than her and was going to be the next Hyuga clan head. Yes, I have changed Hanabi's gender and age. Her father thought of her as useless and her mother had deceased when Hanabi was born. She didn't matter to the clan. She was useless, good for nothing. Nobody cared for her, nobody except Naruto. She held out her hand and helped Hinata in the darkest times of her life, even when she was going through some serious shit herself. Now, after knowing each other 5 years, they had both grown in strength and as a person. So when she saw Naruto standing in front of the class with the same smile as she gave her instead of the fake grin, she smiled as well. She was excited and happy for her little sister. Her smile was huge and would no doubt look strange in front of her classmates. But when did she actually care about them? She didn't care about them for a long time. Laughing at her when she messed up just like her clan. It made her angry. Especially when those two attention-seeking bimbos laughed at her. AKA Sakura and Ino, they had no right. Both of them were weaker than her. She wanted to hit them so much, but Naruto always came towards her telling her to calm down. She would often blush from embarrassment from losing her temper and some people started thinking that she had a crush on Naruto. That's when they got the idea of plan. Hinata likes Naruto. The web of deceit expanded even more and from that moment, there was no possibility in getting caught anymore. Hinata acted weak and frail while Naruto was a pathetic, loud, retarded boy and would be until they graduated. She could not wait to see her father's face when he would come face to face with the real Hinata. He would be catching flies with his mouth for sure. But back to the situation at hand. She jumped up from her seat, aiming to rip off Kiba's offending arms as she saw them wound around Naruto's waist. Unfortunately, someone beat her to it. Shino kicked the fool in the face. His expression was as stoic as ever except his eyebrows, whom were tilted in an angry fashion. His foot dug deep in Kiba's cheek before being withdrawn by its owner. Kiba flied across the room until he reached the blackboard. His head hit the cold surface and knocked him out. An angry red mark marred his face and already started to become blue. That would be painful for a long time. Shino turned to Naruto. Are you okay? Naruto blinked a few times as she tried to comprehend what just happened. Shino just helped her. She expected Hinata to go completely ballistic. She was always so protective since 3 years ago, but she would never have guessed that Shino would come to her aid. The boy was nice to her the few times they had talked, but they didn't know each other nearly enough to risk punishment for helping each other. Especially for such a small thing as flirting, even if Kiba was forceful. She snapped out of her thoughts as she realized that Shino was still waiting for an answer. Yes, I am fine, Shino-san. Thank you very much. It was still strange for her to be so polite. She used to swear and scream so much in the past that even her own voice sounded foreign. She knew she had to be polite now her status as clan head and princess was made public to at least her whole class, if not more people. Soon people would change her status of demon and monster to Hime-sama and Naruto-sama. It was all just really weird. It would be funny though. Q would probably have a fun time too, seeing those pitiful humans shiver in fear for what they had done to the daughter of their hero. Yeah, Kurama loved seeing people shivering in fear. He always told the stories about his life with great passion, especially if it involved people shitting their pants. Well, at least someone was happy with their fears. That's good. I let one of my bugs inject him with a numbing poison so you won't feel so much pain when waking up. He let out the part, so you don't have to feel guilty about it, out. He didn't really want Kiba to feel only numbed pain. He felt angry about the Inuzuka's attitude toward women. He wasn't taught any manners or just didn't want to learn them. Naruto was the princess of Whirlpool and Konoha. Touching her like that without her consent was unacceptable. He knew he wouldn't be punished for learning the dog his place. It doesn't mean you have the senses of a dog that you had to act like one. However, he did not want the girl to feel guilty. He didn't know why, but she looked so much frailer now she was a girl than when she was disguised as a male. Someone who needed protection instead of taking a blow for someone else when she was still the old Naruto. He just couldn't stay put and watch quietly as she was being bothered. Naruto softly smiled at Shino. I see. Thank you. She was glad that the dog boy wasn't going to be in too much pain when waking up. Sure, he was being up, but she still didn't want her friend to suffer. She shuddered when she thought about it. Her friend touched her like that, as if engaging a romantic action together. It made her sick. I thought you were curious if he would act like this or not. Why are you complaining? Exactly, curious? I didn't ask to be flirted with. Let alone being touched so intimately by dog breath. I don't hate him. I mean, he's a nice person if he isn't being either douchey or bragging about his so-called skills. But, Kiba? Yuck. What's so good about having a boyfriend anyway? Oh, there are many things that boyfriends are good for. They protect you, love you, keep you company, make you happy when you're down. Those kind of things. There are a lot more things that boyfriends are good for, but you're a bit too young to know about those things. You haven't even gotten the talk yet. The talk? What are you talking about? Believe me, you don't want to know. Ow, okay, I get it already, no need to shout. She bowed to Shino and waved to Hinata, whom was glaring daggers at the unconscious form of Kiba. Oi, Hina-chan, do you want to eat our lunch together? Hinata turned her head to Naruto and nodded. Sure, just wait a moment. Hinata rummaged through her bag and pulled out 2 black boxes and a water bottle. She walked over to Naruto and pulled her away from Shino and out the classroom. Naruto had an idea where the blue net was taking her, but she let herself be pulled along nonetheless. Hinata pulled her through the bushes behind the academy building until they reached a natural pathway under the higher bushes, creating a beautiful atmosphere. Everywhere you looked were green leaves. The bushes started off at the ground but suddenly seemed to melt together at 2 meters high. It looked like a long tube made of leaves and grass. They kept walking about 200 meters south in all kinds of turns and bends until they reached an open space. The whole space was surrounded by a fort of some sorts and gigantic trees. An old temple-like building stood in the distance. This was Hinata's and Naruto's special place that only they knew about. They called it the Sacred Grove. Cookies for everyone who knows what I'm talking about. This isn't a crossover, by the way, it's just a very beautiful place. For the people who don't know, it's the sacred grove from Zelda, Twilight Princess. The stone floor had moss and large patches of grass growing over it, showing how old the place really was. There were two ways out of the large area. The way back to town and a way leading through the rest of the fortress. You could easily get lost there though. The fortress had long become part of the forest itself. Trees grew everywhere, rivers flowed through it, and many animals had made it their home. A smart thing to do considering there were no humans around except Hinata and Naruto. You could easily lose your way around the fortress. The place was huge and it took a long time for the two girls to memorize the layout. 1 time left and 3 times right was the place where clean water streamed right from a rock and thus had unlimited clean water, while 2 times left, 1 time straight and 1 time left again were trees with all kinds of useful things like honeysuckle, a sweet flower which could be used for tea, and apples. If something happened to either Hinata or Naruto, they could both spend a few days at the grove. It was their safe haven. There was shelter in the temple and enough food to last at least a few months. You didn't even have to boil your water to get it clean. It is more like a hideout now they thought about it. They both stepped into the old temple. The inside of the temple looked pretty new actually. The wooden floor wasn't rotten or weak and the stone walls didn't have any holes in them. When coming in they were welcomed by a long hall. In the hall were several stone banks and the stairs up. They didn't need to be upstairs so they sat on one of the banks. The sun shone through the tinted glass depicting an odd flower looking like a crossbreed between a lotus and a rose. Yeah, strange but beautiful nonetheless. Hinata opened her bento and gave Naruto the other one. She knew that all that Naruto could eat was ramen since nobody would sell her fresh food. She, as the older sister, had to take care of her younger one and decided to bring a bento for Naruto every day. Though today was the first day they could actually eat at the exact same day. Meeting up was always tedious. They had to walk separately, meaning that Hinata almost always had eaten the half of her bento while Naruto still had to begin. They were both glad that time was over. It was strangely tiring sometimes. Are you fine? Hinata began. I'm sure it's a huge change for you to open up like that. You probably felt so exposed and that filthy dog didn't help either. Hinata growled out Kiba's nickname as if it was some disgusting incurable disease. Naruto frowned at Hinata. I'm fine and Kiba's not that bad. I swear Hinata, you overreacting. Overreacting? Overreacting? I am not overreacting, Naruto. That annoying little pest needs to learn his place. He's too confident, thinks of women as useless except when producing heirs, and doesn't know where to put and not put his dirty hands. You're just not careful enough. If you don't watch out, people could do very bad things to you, Naruto. Remember that. I don't want people to take advantage of you. Naruto smiled at Hinata. Geez, fine. I'll punch him in the face or something next time he tries something like that. Okay? Except if I'm there. Naruto had a confused look on her face when Hinata grinned and had some kind of evil aura around her. What do you mean? Hinata giggled in a very scary tone and Naruto backed off a bit. If I'm around, next time, I'll rip his arms off. Wah? Don't say such things, Hinane. You're scary when you get sadistic. It gives me the creeps. Hinata started laughing at Naruto's freaked out expression. Ha 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 ha. Fine, fine. They kept chattering through the whole lunch break until it was time to return to the academy. On their way back they were talking about their teams. So you're put with Dog Breath and Shino, huh? Poor unfortunate soul. I almost feel bad for you. Almost? Why almost? Well, Shino's pretty quiet and I don't think Dog Breath could be himself when around you. You're nice to me. But hell, can you be cold and mean towards other people? I actually feel pretty bad for your teammates now that I think about it. Hinata pouted, but it didn't work very well against Naruto because she herself was a master in the art of pouting. Hinata couldn't even dare to compare her pouting to hers. Well, I pity you too, Naru. Being put on a team with Sasuke and Saku. Dug butt and Pepto-Bismol, said Naruto when she interrupted Hinata. Dug butt and Pepto-Bismol. I mean, Doug butts an ass and has a stick in his too, while Pepto is just Pepto, a useless, weak fangirl. Every time I see her I just want to. Hina, we need to hurry. We have no time for complaining. We're going to be late. Hinata grumbled but did what Naruto said anyway. When reaching the old academy building they ran to their class and practically jumped to their seats. Then it was just playing the waiting game as Iruka gave his last words of advice. Hinata's sensei. A woman with beautiful red eyes came first, taking away her new team. Slowly but surely, the whole room was empty and Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke were the only ones left. It was hell for Naruto. Sakura was glaring at her and Sasuke kept glancing at her. Where the hell is a sensei when you need them? As if on cue, the door opened and a cyclops with gravity-defying hair came waltzing inside the room. Team 7? Be on the roof in 5 minutes. Naruto blinked, her mouth agape. She couldn't believe it. They waited for 3 fucking hours and a fucking cyclops who can't even buy a fucking eye patch came waltzing in the room only to fucking tell them to come to the fucking roof only to use fucking Shushin to get to roof the easy way? Oh hell no. If he could do it the easy way then she could too. She made the hand sign for Shushin and poofed from existence, leaving behind 2 wide-eyed, very confused teammates. On the roof. Poof. On the first place goes to Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto. That was childish kid, says the one who named all his tails. Shish, they have feelings you know. Suor they do. Naruto stretched to get all the tension from her muscles. Sitting for 3 hours while wondering where the fudge her teacher was surprisingly stressful. Her entire body felt stiff and hurt a bit. Damn it, if that stupid Cyclops doesn't explain why he is so late right now I swear I will. Whoa there kid, it seems you hang out with Hinata too much. You're starting to swear a lot. That's not true. Yes it is and you know it. Look, I don't care what you think but don't go around and curse everywhere you go. You're a princess so you'll have to act like one. Shut up and talk with your tails. She walked over to Kakashi and sat next to him, ignoring the fact that he was gaping. She didn't ignore the fact that he was staring though. What? Asked Naruto, quite irritated about the fact that her teacher had no manners whatsoever. First he had the gall to come 3 hours late and now he was staring. She took a good look at her supposed sensei. He looked around 20, maybe 30 years old. It was hard to tell with 85% of his face covered and the gray hair didn't really help much either. His gravity-defying hair was a kind of ashy gray. It was a nice color but looked like it fit better on the walls at home than on someone's head. His lone, brown eye was wide in shock, probably because she used Shushin. A technique learned to those who had passed the Chunin exam. It was very rare that a newly graduated genin knew the technique. Even so, it was still impolite to stare at someone like that. You're not a normal genin. Are you? Naruto grinned mischievously at Kakashi. You could say that. Stupid stares. Why are there so many of you? Sakura screamed as she finally reached the roof. Sasuke was right behind her, looking as uninterested as always, not winded in the slightest. Sakura wheezed like a sick horse when she walked over to the little bench that Kakashi and Naruto were sitting on. She sat next to Naruto. Naruto slid to the right as she smelled Sakura's sweat. It seemed like walking the stairs was an exercise by itself for the pinkhead. Sasuke did the same, silently cursing Sakura to force him further away from Naruto. He would be lying if he said he wasn't interested in the new mystery known as Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The last member of 3 clans. He felt like they were more alike than ever. Both were from famous clans and both grew up alone. They both knew loneliness and she was a real beauty too. What was there not to like? He still found it strange to think this girl was the Dobi. They seemed like 2 total different people. But he felt attracted nonetheless. Well, now that everyone's here, let's start with the introductions shall we? Said Kakashi. Sakura held up her hand and Kakashi nodded to give her permission to speak. Could you give us an example sensei? Kakashi nodded. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. I am 26. My likes and dislikes are none of your business and I don't have a dream. Wow, all we learned was his name. Pinky, you're up. Sakura grumbled at the nickname she was given but started introducing herself anyway. My name is Haruno Sakura, I am 13 years old. I like looks at Sasuke. My dream is looks at Sasuke again and squeals I hate Ino pig and Naruto no baka. Naruto rolled her eyes. I love you too. Geez, how shallow can one get? Kakashi did the same. A fangirl. Great. Kakashi pointed at Sasuke. Your turn broody. Sasuke glared at Kakashi before starting his introduction. Uchiha Sasuke, 13. I like almost nothing except tomatoes. I dislike almost everything in my dream. No, my goal in life is to kill a certain man and revive my clan. Wow, I think I'll call him Little Sunshine from now on. Thought Naruto sarcastically. Like I thought. thought Kakashi. Kakashi pointed at Naruto. Last but not least, Little Miss Sunshine over there. Naruto smiled and nodded. Hello, my name is Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto. I'm 12 years old. I like Hinata and her bentos, the Hokage, my friends, training, Kurama Onichan, cooking and relaxing. I dislike arrogant people, narrow-minded people, bitter food, waking up in the morning, and my dream is to one day become strong enough for people to rely on me. Kakashi stayed quiet for a few seconds before speaking up. What did you say your name was? Like I said, my name is Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto. Kakashi's eye lit up with hope, happiness, relief and anger. What was your father's name? Naruto gave him a confused look. My father was Minato Namikaze and my mother was Kushina Uzumaki. Why do you a? Before she could finish her sentence, she was pulled into a warm hug by her sensei. His cheeks rubbed themselves on her shoulders, causing Kakashi's tears to spill on her clothes. He was happy, so happy that his godchild was alive. But while he was happy, he was also unbelievably angry. Not at Naruto, mind you, but at the Hokage. He trusted his leader and followed his orders, no matter what. And this was what he got in return? Lies? The old Kage had told him his godchild died alongside his sensei, yet here she stood. Very much alive. Not that I don't appreciate the hug, but I'm getting a little bit confused here. Kakashi suddenly realized that his godchild had no idea what was going on. Not only that, but there were two other kids sitting there watching how their teacher was hugging their female teammate. He looked over to his two other students. Sakura was creeped out by her pedo teacher while Sasuke was challenging him to a battle of death glares. He let go of Naruto. Ehem. You're dismissed. Be at Team 7's training field at 7. And don't eat, you'll just throw up. He grabbed Naruto's arm and pulled her body close to him. He wound his arm around her shoulders and made the hand sign to perform Shushin, and once again left behind two shocked students. The Sandaime was reading his heavenly literature in peace during his break. Nothing could ruin this day. There was less paperwork than usual, there were no stupid meetings, and he could read some Icha now that his secretary was on an errand. The weather was nice too, and the smell of grass filled his nostrils. He took a big sniff from the air. Poof! Smoke filled the room. The Sandaime coughed as some entered his lungs as well when he decided to take a whiff of the spring air. The smoke cleared after a few seconds, revealing a very pissed-off Kakashi glaring at him and a confused Naruto looking around in curiosity. You have much to explain, Sarutobi-san. Sarutobi blinked innocently. What are you talking about, Kakashi? Kakashi saw red. Playing innocent, eh? He grabbed the collar of the old village leader and roughly pushed him against the wall. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You said she was dead, that she died alongside Minato-sensei. Do you have any idea how long I was mourning their lives in front of that goddamn gravestone? How long I was wasting my time inside that god-forsaken graveyard? Not only that, but she's the Jinchuriki. I know exactly how she has lived her life, and I will tell you that it's not pretty. If I had known, I would have. You would have what? Screamed the Hokage. He knew this day was coming and was prepared to accept all of Kakashi's complaints, but he wanted to explain himself first. He was just confused why the man looked so angry at him while he was still reading his precious. He was distracted, but that was still no reason to pin him to the wall. This would be the weirdest yaoi couple ever. Yuck, that would be so disgusting. You would have helped her? Don't make me laugh. If you knew, why didn't you help her? Your godchild or not, you should have helped her anyway. Do you want to tell me you would only save her because she's Minato's daughter? If so, you don't even care about her, only her heritage. If Minato was here, he would have been very disappointed in you. Now, are you going to keep me pinned to the wall, or will you let me go and let me explain myself first? Kakashi calmed down but refused to let the elder man go. I'll let you go after you explain yourself first. The elder man sighed once again at the younger man's attitude, not that he could blame him, of course. He brought this onto himself. Well, for one thing, you were only 14 years old when Naruto was born. Yet, at the tender age of 14, you were already a very important asset of this village. If you knew that Naruto was your teacher's child, you would have tried to adopt her. Could you imagine a 14-year-old traumatized boy to take care of a baby Jinchuriki? You would have to give up your work as a shinobi in order to have enough time to raise Naruto. If you did that, then it would have crippled Konoha's already weak military power drastically. Not only that, but if people knew she was Minato's and Kushina's daughter, then they would more than likely kidnap her or send assassins to kill her. I didn't like the way the villagers treated her, but if we announced who she really was then. Kakashi scoffed. There have been more assassination attempts by the people in this village than there would ever have been by other countries. And who do you think had to save her when you were too late? That's right, me. So don't you dare to say that I never helped her. You should have told me when I turned 18 so I at least could meet her in personal and spend time with her. I would have kept my mouth shut about her heritage. I am not so foolish to not understand the fact that it was dangerous to reveal her heritage. However, I had the right to know. Naruto coughed in her hand. Excuse me, but could someone please explain to me what's going on? Kakashi looked over his shoulder and nodded. He let go of the sandame and walked over to Naruto. He looked to the Hokage and said, I am sorry Hokage-sama, but I was very angry with the fact you lied to me like that. As a matter of fact, I still am. I don't know when I will trust you again, but for now I would like some time with my godchild and tell her what is going on. Is this acceptable? The Hokage straightened himself. You have my permission, Naruto, Kakashi. I am very sorry about this and I hope I can make this up to you too. Kakashi said nothing to the Hokage's apology and eyes smiled at Naruto. Let's go eat somewhere and talk about it there, okay? Naruto looked at her sensei and nodded. It wasn't like she had anything better to do. And she was curious about what there was going on. She had a suspicion but would rather hear it from the man's own mouth. Ichiraku's? She asked. Kakashi laughed. Ichiraku's. Naruto whooped of joy at the news. She loved ramen, but that might be because she never really ate anything else. Most of the shopkeeper either threw her out or gave her spoiled food for twice the price. Instant noodles were the only things she could buy without them being spoiled. The fact that the only place that gave her fresh food was a noodle restaurant didn't really help with her ramen addiction either. If you guys have suggestions for another kind of food that Naruto will taste in the future and become her second favorite food, let me know. Can I do the shushin this time? Asked Naruto. Kakashi gave her a questioning look. I know that shushin drains quite the amount of chakra and we both know that I have enough of that. You on the other hand must be getting tired. Do I really look so weak? Laughed Kakashi. Sure, why not? It would be nice if you did. Naruto waved at Sarutobi before grabbing Kakashi's hand and shushining away. Bye-bye Gigi. See you later. The Hokage smiled at the girl before she vanished and sighed. This might as well be the last time the girl would smile at him. He had lied to her and when she would find out that she could actually have had the family she desired. Surely, she would hate him. He really hoped she could forgive him for all his lies. He really did, but he knew that would very unlikely. Today couldn't get any worse. At Ichiraku's. I listened to the song, Are Children Taken, from the OST of Zelda when writing this part, so if you want to know where I kinda got my inspiration from you should listen to it. God, I love that game. Kakashi and Naruto took a seat at the ramen stand and each ordered a bowl of ramen. Naruto chose to take chicken this time while Kakashi favored beef. Kakashi decided to talk while they were waiting for Tucci to finish cooking the food. So, I'm sure you are wondering what my reasons were for my previous behavior. You see, I knew your parents. Started Kakashi. Naruto just stared at the man. You did? Kakashi's eyes smiled. Yes, you could even say that I saw your father as a replacement for my own. He was a kind man. He cared for me as if I was his own son. He was a genius who just like you faked his scores at the academy just to show the world that academy scores don't matter when it came to real life. Someone with excellent grades could still die easily in a real battle. Even though he was a genius, he never bragged about his skills and was kind towards everyone he met. He was truly one of his kind. Naruto let a sad smile grace her face. I really wish he was still alive. He would have been a great father. Kakashi nodded. Indeed, your mother would have been a good mom too. My mother? What kind of person was she? Kakashi sheepishly rubbed the back of his head. Well, she was, for the lack of a better word, incredibly fiery. She was a woman with a very strong personality that seemed as if it was shining. She packed quite a punch too and was very scary and dangerous when angered. Naruto grinned. It seems I am a perfect mix between the two then. Kakashi shivered when Naruto grinned at the mention of the way her mother acted when mad. That still doesn't explain why you reacted so fiercely though. I was getting to that. You see, I was your father's student when I was younger and we made a bond on the battlefield. He trusted me with his life and I him with mine. He even trusted me so much that he and Kushina senpai asked me to be your godfather when your mother was still pregnant with you. I was so happy, ecstatic even. I would be like your older brother or something when you grew up. But then, the Kyuubi incident happened. The Hokage told me you died alongside your parents. And I believed him. I spent days rotting in front of the gravestone in the graveyard and was grieving your death until today. But then, you found me, alive. Naruto finished for the man. Kakashi stayed silent as if confirming Naruto's words. Shouldn't you be happy then? Happy that I'm alive? I am happy. It's just, you wanted to know so that you could have done more for me. I understand that fact and I thank you. However, you didn't know, so there is no need to beat yourself up over it. Gigi only did what he thought was necessary to keep me and the village safe. He might have sacrificed me to the villagers, but he didn't know what else he could do. My father may have been wise, but he was too trusting. There was no way that the villagers would see me as a hero. They had lost many people that night, it was simply too much to ask of them to see me as one. This does not, however, mean that what they did to me was justified. They did things to me that will stay with me for the rest of my life, just like the scar on my back. The scar on your paw? Then he saw it, clear as day. How couldn't he have noticed this before? On her lightly tanned skin between her shoulder blades, there was a big, angry scar. Someone had carved the word, demon, on her soft skin. It stared at him and he was furious. Who did that to you? It does not matter, the one who did this is already dead. It would do you no good to get angry over things of the past. You know, you are just the opposite, A.N. The title makes its appearance, of what I heard about you. Like I said, I'm the perfect mix between my mother and father. Fake in academy, real in real life. Is that really so strange? No, but a 12-year-old sounding so wise is. Naruto laughed as Tucci came back with 2 bowls of ramen. Well, thank you I guess. The two talked and bonded a little before leaving in order to get some rest. The next day was going to be hard, or so Kakashi told her. The next day started off with being quite amusing. She walked the streets of Konoha at 8:30 since she heard from Kakashi that he had the tendency to get 3 hours late to everything not involving a life-death situation, a habit he got from an old teammate, he told her. The reason it was amusing was because everybody was either staring at her with a blush on their face or with curiosity. Yep, she was going to enjoy their reactions when they knew of her name. It had proven to be very fun to see people react to her heritage, and to see it on a bigger scale as of a whole village was just going to be awesome. The streets were full of life, and guess what? Nobody glared or screamed offending things at her. It made her day so much better. When finally reaching her destination, she felt her happiness drop back to zero. Pepto was glaring at her and Sasuke was just staring at her. Very strangely. And she didn't like it one bit. Seems like someone wants you as their mate. Teased Kurama. Then again. Who doesn't? What? Who? Sakura? I don't swing that way. No offense to lesbians, by the way. No, stupid. I'm talking about the Uchiha. Oh hell no. Sasuke? Ew, that's just fucking disgusting. Q-ni. Why the hell would the jerk? No, I refuse to believe it. You're crazy. Kit, language. And I'm not crazy, look at him. He's been staring at you since yesterday. He totally has the dibs on you. La 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 la, I can't hear you. Fine, I don't need you anyway. Izuru can keep me company, isn't that right, Izuru? And stop talking to your tails. They don't have feelings. Hey Baka, why are you so late? Kakashi-sensei said we had to be here at 7, you idiot. And what's with the henge? We all know you're a boy. So stop trying to seduce my Sasuke-kun. Look Kurama, it seems the fangirl agrees with you. And that's not a good sign. Kurama merely grumbled in his cage but did nothing more. She turned to Sakura and sighed. I'm going to pretend that I didn't hear you. She jumped into the tree Sasuke was leaning on and sat in one of the branches. She could use tree climbing, but she didn't want Ducky and Pepto to get jealous, so she refrained from doing that for now. It took half an hour before her comically late godfather arrived and she thanked the heavens. It was hell, again. Sakura kept glaring at her and Sasuke was still staring. He even started to grin in some creepy way after a while. She started to suspect that what Kurama said was not as much bullshit as she had hoped. Sorry that I'm late. I killed my alarm clock and had to give it a proper burial. Said Kakashi in an earnest voice. If he hadn't said something ridiculous, then Naruto would have actually believed him. She sweat dropped at the ridiculous excuse. Liar, screamed Sakura. Sasuke just glared at him, only less intense than when Kakashi hugged her yesterday. Naruto just sighed. At least he warned her about his tardiness first. Whatever. What are we going to do now? Asked Naruto. She knew that today was going to be tiring. But that was all she knew. Today, we will test if you're really worthy of the world of shinobi. Sakura gasped. But sensei, we already graduated. Nope, you haven't graduated yet. You only passed the test that allowed you to take this test. If you pass this test, then you'll become a real genin. If you don't, you'll be sent back to the academy and we'll have to start this year all over again. But that's not fair. Screamed Sakura, this time into poor Naruto's ear. Why not? Said Naruto, quite annoyed about the fact that Sakura made her ears bleed. Grades mean nothing in a real battle. Knowing about the history of Konoha will not kill your opponent. You cannot kill your opponent by boring them. Indeed, well, since you guys have been waiting for so long, I'll explain this test so that you guys can eat something. He held up 2 bells. Here are 2 bells. Your goal is simple. You must retrieve 1 bell to pass. Easy enough, right? But sensei, there are only 2 bells? Naruto rolled her eyes. Wow, you can count? Isn't it obvious? We have to fight each other as well to get a bell. One of us has to go back to the academy. Isn't that rigged, Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi grinned. You're much smarter than people make you out to be. Well, since our dear Naruto has explained the rules, let us begin. In 3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go. Kakashi gave the signal. Sakura and Sasuke knew what they had to do. The academy had taught them to always hide from a stronger opponent and wait for an opportunity to strike in order to gain the upper hand. Naruto, on the other hand, just kept standing at the same spot she was at before. Naruto. I don't think you understand I understand it very well, Hitaki-san. I just don't think it's wise to hide from my opponents. They can surprise you when you're focusing on your enemy. It's better to fight your opponents and… Naruto paused. I shouldn't say what I'm about to do. Do things that can help you defeating them. I see, that's a smart thought, but… Not only that, but I doubt that you would allow them to strike you since you're already expecting them to do so when you lower your guard. You would probably attack them before they even get that chance. How do you? You're easy to read. To me at least. People not wanting their children to play with me left me without much to do. Now, before we dance, I would like to know if we have a time limit or not. As observant as her father, I see. Mused Kakashi. You have until this noon. So you'll have 2 hours. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys that the loser won't be getting any food and will be bound against the training post. Did you eat, by the way? Naruto cocked her head to the left on a cute way. No, why do you ask? I haven't heard you stomach complain once from the lack of food. That. Well, I skip my meals sometimes because I would rather train instead, so I'm used to it. I also don't really have anything to eat at home since I'm moving today. Naruto readied herself in a fighting stance. The Utahime stance, which the female members of the main household of the Uzumaki clan used. Made specially for the Uzumaki Kekai Genkei, the Mujihina Kamigami no Koa are the voice of the merciless gods. No, Naru's not going to be op. It only awakened in the main household, therefore it was very rare, and the fact that its name was so damn long annoyed Naruto a bit. Naruto could only use one of its skills, and that particular skill wasn't very useful in battle. It's been nice talking to you, Hitaki-san, but time marches on. I think we have been talking for long enough. Now, shall we dance? Kakashi grinned, using the catchphrase of Madara Uchiha. It actually fits you pretty well, Naruto. He reached for his bag and pulled out an orange book. Wait, what are you going to do with that book? Asked Naruto, feeling a bit dishonored by her teacher and godfather. Isn't that obvious? I'm reading. I can see that, but why are you reading? Aren't we supposed to fight? Kakashi scoffed. Do you really think a genin like you could do me any harm? Oh, this was it. Godfather or not, she was going to kick this man's ass to Kumo and then back to Konoha. Nobody, and that means absolutely nobody, was allowed to underestimate her. Shit was going to go down. Kakashi smiled to himself. Seems my taunting worked. His teacher had said long ago that an angered warrior only wielded a dull blade. He would teach this to his daughter. Or so he thought. Naruto charged at him head on. She didn't even guard her weak spots. Kakashi held out his hand trying to stop her pathetic punch, only for it to stop right before he could catch it. She then used the ball of her foot to push her to the right. A feint? Thought Kakashi before the wind that her punch carried swooped over him, pushing him several feet back. Such power. Naruto disappeared for a fraction of a second and reappeared behind Kakashi. She raised her hand and backhanded him on the face. Let me give you some advice. Never anger an Uzumaki. It'll be your downfall. Kakashi was surprised by Naruto's attack and found himself being smacked on the face. Her words repeated themselves in his mind, and he remembered something else his sensei had said. He almost face-palmed when he did. An angered warrior only wields a dulled blade. But remember, Kakashi, that an angered Uzumaki will come after you with a scythe twice as sharp as the Izanagi shutters asterisk. Kakashi involuntarily paled. How could he forget? The Uzumaki temper and pride was sensitive to insults. And an angry Uzumaki means death. He was lucky she hadn't awakened her voice, or he would have been screwed. Naruto grinned as she saw Kakashi pale. She might have her father's strategic skills and his wisdom, but her personality on the battlefield was the same as her mother's. Have no mercy. That was her nindo when battling someone, may it be a life or death situation or just training. Don't hold back. That was all she would ever think about in battle. And she absolutely hated it if someone underestimated her, especially since she never held back. It was her way of leaving her opponent's honor intact. She would respect their strength. The only thing she wanted in return was that the opposite party did their best as well. Which was not being done by Kakashi right now. She jumped back in a backflip to get some distance between them. She then made 5 hand signs: rat, serpent, monkey, ox, dog. Futon, breath of the wind deity. She used a bigger variation of wind bullet and threw his body against a tree. You're not talking so big now, eh? Kakashi saw. Wait, huh? Kakashi's body disappeared and left a log in its place. Damn, Kawarimi. I've been had. Sasuke and Sakura meanwhile were gaping. That was not a genin level battle. That speed was just inhuman. For them least, they seemed to disappear and reappear over and over again. Sakura actually got scared of Naruto now. She had just badmouthed her and thank goodness Naruto ignored her. She would like to keep her head. Thank you very much. Sasuke was inwardly celebrating. She was perfect. She was everything he's ever wanted in a woman. Beautiful, kind yet fiery, actually smart, and she was strong. Nobody would ever deserve someone like her, except him of course. Talk about a big ego. He was exited, that much was sure. He would go as far as saying he fell for her. Was this how it felt to fall in love at first sight? No, it would be too fast to tell. Maybe he was just exited about the thought that there was someone else like him. It was a possibility. He would have to wait and see. It felt strange. He was sure that he locked away his feelings since that day, yet he felt comforted when looking at her. When she smiled, he couldn't get it out of his head. It was a strange phenomenon to him. Maybe he was attached then? Naruto looked around, looking for signs of her sensei, and was shocked she found none. That's strange. I'm a sensory type, so how could he? He's masking his chakra. Rejoice, Kit. Only Anbu know how to do that. If you pass, you'll have a good teacher to teach you all kinds of awesome things. By the way, you do realize this is a test inside a test, right? Of course I do. Who do you think I am? What kind of team travels in a pair instead of 3? That's my Kit. Naruto smiled at the fox's antics but quickly hid it. She then heard rustling behind her. Kakashi was hiding in some treetops making several hand signs. Those hand signs are for a Kaiden jutsu. If that reaches me, I'm screwed. Konoha's secret technique, 1,000 years of pain. Kakashi put his hands together and stuck his index fingers out. He then aimed for her ass, and gave her, for a lack of a better word, a very powerful poke in the butt. Lesson 1. Never let a ninja get behind you. Kakashi's eyes widened when Naruto gave him the most sinister grin he had ever seen. Joy obvious in those blue eyes. When he shoved his finger, you know where, there only resounded one sound, no screaming, no cursing, only one sound. Poof. Kage Bushin? When? Kakashi then understood what the girl had done. Clever, very clever. Sending a Kage Bushin to obtain information about your opponents without getting in danger yourself. Naruto watched Kakashi's confused look change into an amused one. Seems he found out the purpose of that Kage Bushin. She grinned once again. She was really enjoying this. After acting weak for years, she never had fun fighting, not even once. But now, she was completely giddy of excitement. Unfortunately, she didn't need to fight anymore, she had finished what she wanted to do. The only thing she had to do was wait till noon. Sasuke had seen everything and wanted to have some action as well. However, how? Kakashi was strong, he had seen enough to acknowledge that, but even so, he was still going to try his hand against Kakashi. He made himself ready to charge. 3, 2, 1, go. And he charged Kakashi head-on. With Hinata. Hinata had, like she though, passed Kurenai's test. The test was to track her down while she hid behind a B-ranked genjutsu in a time limit of 1 hour. It wasn't even hard. Akamaru could smell her, Shino's insects could feel the chakra waves she emitted, and Hinata could see her clear as day with her Byakugan. It took them about 15 minutes to find Kurenai. It was a bit too easy if you asked her, not that she complained though. She passed, that's all that mattered to her. She didn't even care about the test, to be honest. What she did care about was the face her father was about to make in a few minutes. She walked to the garden where her father and Hanabi were training. She scoffed, Hanabi was pathetic and she would show that to her excuse of a clan. About 40 other Hyugas were watching their match. This was going to be the best moment to do this. She smirked sinisterly and switched her father's place with hers. Hiyashi was shocked when he found himself where Hinata had just stood, and he was even more shocked to see Hinata in his place. Hinata, what is the meaning of? Hinata didn't give her father any attention as Hanabi was almost hitting her with a blow that was normally aimed at his father. She held out her hand and simply held Hanabi's fingertips before they could hit any of her tenketsus. Your power is too weak, your movement is too stiff, and you use way too much chakra. They call me a failure, but if I am a failure, then what are you? Hanabi snapped out of his stupor when he heard his failure of a sister insulting him. Are you calling me worse than a failure, sister? Did you forget I defeated you? No, crushed you 3 years ago? And are you telling me I was serious? You are my younger brother. I would have won that fight, however, the blow that would defeat you would leave you crippled. Your arm would never move again. Would you rather have I had gone through with that hit then? Why, you're lying. Oh, really? Hinata took 3 steps back. Then, could a failure do this? Hinata put her foot in front of her and slightly bent her knees. Kaiten. She spinned her body around in extreme speed, creating a strong shield around her. Impossible, screamed Hiyashi. I never learned her Kaiten. She couldn't possibly have learned that by herself. Learn it by myself I did, though I had a strong training partner. She was the person to help me acquire this level of strength. Do not think I became this strong for you though. I become strong so I could protect her, not the Hyuga clan. I became strong because of her and for her. I can honestly say this though, I hate you all. Hinata raised her head in an uncaring manner and walked towards her room. When entering her room she screamed of joy. Woo, that felt good. Back with Naruto. Naruto sighed. Sasuke got himself buried in the ground while Sakura was caught in a weak genjutsu. She was glad that it was almost noon, and she was also glad that Kakashi noticed no changes. Reeing. Finally. Okay, we're done. Naruto, dig out Sasuke and wake up Sakura. Naruto did so, and the one being tied to the training post was Sakura. Why am I the one being tied up? Screeched Sakura. Oh, I don't know. Maybe because you were the only one doing absolutely nothing. Seda once again irritated Naruto. She didn't hate the girl, but her lack of common sense was really pissing her off. Sakura wanted to respond but then remembered how well she fared against Kakashi and decided to keep her mouth shut for the time being. It seems none of you have any bells. Look again, said Naruto with a grin almost splitting her face. In her hand 2 bells. How? When you were fighting my Kage Bushin, I just had to place a small genjutsu on a very big area since I don't have enough chakra control to do it on a small area. Walked over to you, snatched it without you feeling it and placed another genjutsu to make you think you still had them. Easy as that, right? But how did you? Never mind. Who are you going to give the bells? Naruto threw the bells to Kakashi. You, of course, since you are our sensei. We are all a team, right? Kakashi shook his head in amusement. You really are one of a kind. And that was the beginning of Naruto's troublesome ninja lifestyle. Naruto was nervous about moving. Her status as princess no longer allowed her to live in the apartment she grew up in. Even if people wrote mean things on her door, and even though it wasn't very big, she still loved it. It was the place nobody could reach her or hurt her. It protected her like a mother would. It was something like that to her. A warm place that kept her comfy and warm in the cold and barren winters. A place that gave her the safety she so desperately needed. A place she didn't want to leave. Hinata, Kakashi and strangely Sasuke had volunteered to help her moving. Sasuke asking her if he could help was the strangest thing she ever heard. She couldn't complain though. He did mean it well, maybe. She didn't have much to take with her since she owned very little. Still, the 9 boxes she had already packed were incredibly heavy and she didn't want to move alone. She hated that word, alone. She had been at many Tim 1s and there was absolutely no one to take her away from it. What am I supposed to do with this, Naru-chan? Asked Hinata. In her hand she held a small book. Put it in one of the boxes. I still need it. Hinata looked in wonder at the worn little book. Its cover was made of dark leather and had a golden hawk on it. It was kept shut by a seal that was hidden in its crimson eye. Naru, what is this book exactly? It looks too old to belong to you. It's a family heirloom. I haven't opened it yet though. I wasn't allowed to buy Gigi until I took up my righteous name. I see. What do you think is in it? Does it matter right now? Responded Sasuke. He found it annoying that the Hyuga kept pushing on the subject. He himself knew it was hard to talk about things like heirlooms. It made him think more about the fact that there was nobody left. It made him realize that there was no one else like him beside the one who murdered his loved ones. And it made his blood boil. He would be damned if that girl made his teammate hurt more than she already did only because her white-eyed ass was curious. Let's all calm down for now and focus on the task at hand. We're almost done. Naruto tried to calm down her helping hands. Fighting wouldn't change anything, and it would be too troublesome to deal with 2 pissed-off early teens at the moment. Naruto walked to her room, made the sign to the rest to follow her. Her room was completely empty. Her bed was thrown away since it was too worn to be used again, as was her closet with the orange jumpsuits included. The only thing still there was the little closet on the wall. Barely big enough to put 15 pairs of shoes in. This is the only thing I still need to do. She opened the closet and her 3 helpers gasped. In the closet were around 50 pots filled with ash, decorated beautifully with ribbons and pearls. In front of every bottle lied a picture with a name written in beautiful writing. Every person the pictures looked like they were sleeping. None had their eyes open. Naruto. Kakashi began. Who are these people? Naruto looked her godfather right in the eye before sighing. They were assassins sent to kill me. Kakashi's eyes widened before closing in regret. Sasuke just stared at Naruto, shock obvious on his face. Hinata gasped and clasped her hand on her mouth before getting furious. Why would you show them such respect? Screamed Hinata in rage. Because they too were humans with mothers, fathers, wives and husbands. Even children. And because none of them know what happened to their beloved ones, I honor their deaths in their stead. Because I know those families still hope their beloved one come home. Dirty but safe saying, I failed my job this time. With an apologetic smile on their face. She picked up a little pot and handed it to Kakashi. Could you find a box to put these in? I want to scatter their ashes on top of the Hokage monument. Kakashi said nothing and only nodded. Honestly, this girl is too kind for her own good. He walked to the living room and retrieved a fairly large carton box. He then proceeded to put the little pot in it and took it to Naruto. Here, Naruto smiled and put all the little pots in it with the help of Sasuke and Hinata. Kakashi was resting a bit, sighing he had to carry most of the boxes later. Alright, we're done, announced the blonde. Finally, said Hinata with a sigh. Haha, already tired. Hina-chan? She grinned teasingly at Hinata. Not everyone has unlimited stamina like you, Naru. I'm kinda jealous. I agree. Naruto stared at Sasuke. What? Since when do you agree with someone? Can't I? Of course you can, but I didn't strike you as someone to agree with people. Sasuke's tone was more of a confirmation than a question. It's not that I don't agree with people, but I just don't agree with stupid people. Since our class was full of idiots, I never agreed with anyone. Are you calling me stupid? Sasuke gave her a ghost of a smile. Of course not. Just that orange, loud idiot. Naruto finished. Sasuke nodded. But now, I can honestly say that you're the one who I respect the most. If you would have said me that I would respect you 2 days ago, I would probably have laughed at you saying that you were insane. But it doesn't sound so strange anymore. Sasuke, do you have cancer or something? Asked Naruto, suspicious of Sasuke's behavior. Hinata bopped her on the head. He's just being nice, Naru. Exactly. Since when is Ducky nice? Excuse me, what did you just call me? Nothing. Hinata shook her head. Naruto could be so childish sometimes. Be glad she changed your name. You were originally called Duck Butt. She called me what? And Sakura is called Pepto-Bismol or Pink Banshee, whichever you prefer. Do you guys have names for everyone? Yep, exclaimed Naruto happily. I doubt that is something to be proud of, whispered Sasuke. Hey, Hina-chan has made the most cruel nicknames you know. Hinata feigned innocence. What? I don't know what you're talking about. You called poor Shino insecticide. That's a cruel nickname. No, it's not. It's accurate. If you're done, let's just go. Kakashi said. He was not in the mood for this. Sir, yes sir, screamed Hinata and Naruto in a sing-song voice. And they followed Kakashi out of the door, all with a box in their hands. Kakashi shook his head. Children. The group of 4 walked over street with all eyes on them. Oh my god, look, it's Uchiha Sasuke and Hyuga Hinata, whispered one girl to her friend. Isn't that Hitaki Kakashi? Said another elderly man to his wife, who nodded. Who is that girl? Asked a teenager to her mother, while her mother gasped. Oh my, that's the Uzumaki Namikaze crest on her cape. The people who heard her gasped. Did the Yondaime have a child? But I heard his little girl died alongside him. The Hokage said so, unless he lied? No way. Seems like you attract a lot of attention, Naru-chan, whispered Hinata in Naruto's ear, but Naruto could care less right now. She was too damn nervous to care. She hadn't seen the Uzumaki Namikaze compound, but with its infamous reputation, she knew its grounds would be big if not enormous. She could handle being alone in a small apartment, but she would be no doubt lonely in such a grand place. But she had just the solution. Kakashi, do you live alone? Yeah, why do you ask? After we dump the boxes in the compound, we're going to your apartment and pack some stuff. You're going to stay with me tonight. The look she gave him said, refuse and you'll never get children. He nodded furiously, not wanting to lose his masculinity. Sure, Naruto. Kurama, who saw the man's fear, understood his fear. Well done, Hitaki. You have spared your balls by agreeing to her wishes. A wise choice. He shivered when he remembered the first time he saw the girl angry. Even the Shinigami would have ran away with his tail between his legs. Uzumaki women were scarier than the 7th pit of hell. Where's the compound, by the way? It's about, holy shit. Naruto quickly clasped her hand over her mouth. Bad, Naruto, bad. No cursing. What's wrong, Naru? Hina-chan. The sacred grove is my compound. Look, she showed Hinata her instructions. But the grove is ancient. There's no sign of ever being used the last 200 years. Screamed Hinata. I can explain that, said Hiruzen as he suddenly appeared in a little cloud of smoke. Oh my freaking, Gigi. You scared me the hell out of me. Haha, sorry child. I thought you were used to it by now. Hiruzen found it amusing to scare the living daylights out of people, and Naruto knew that. Oh, you sly little old Hokage-sama, what do you mean you can explain? Asked Hinata, actually interested in what the old man had to say this time. She usually found his stories and explanations boring. Before I talk any further, I wanted to ask something. Why are you walking there when you can perfectly use Shushin? Naruto face-palmed. How could I forget? The Hokage grinned. Did you forget? No, of course not. We, just wanted to make a walk, that's all. Hiruzen chuckled. Honestly, Naruto was too amusing sometimes. Okay, I believe you. As an apology, let me Shushin you all to the sacred grove. I like the name, by the way. You chose well. Naruto beamed at the compliment. The sacred grove, aka Uzumaki Namikaze compound. Poof. Sasuke, who wasn't used to Shushin, fell on his ass when they arrived. What the hell was that? That, my dear Ducky, was a Shushin, laughed Hinata. She remembered the first time she had been in a Shushin, and she found his reaction a pretty good one for the first time. She fainted her first time. A what? Naruto answered this one. Rejoice, my duck-butted friend, for I shall give you my wisdom. Shushin, or also known as body flicker, is used to transport yourself and other people to their location in a very short amount of time. The range you can travel depends on how much chakra you use. And it can take a lot of chakra. It also requires a good amount of chakra control. So you have to practice a long time before you completely master it. Talking about having a big ego. Huh, you say something. Ma? No nothing. Please don't kill me. Kurama ran to his cave inside Naruto's mind and started whimpering. Why do you keep insisting on calling me something with the word, duck, in it? I don't even understand where you got the idea of calling me something with the word, duck, in it. The Hokage, Kakashi, Hinata and Naruto gave him. Are you serious? Look. Oh, come on. You just need a diadem with a duck head on it and you have a complete duck on your head. Naruto rubbed his head for good measure. My hair does not look like a duck ass. It totally does though. The Hokage coughed in his hand. Please young ones, let's just continue with what we were doing, shall we? Gigi, I love you. But that stupid sagely speech just sounds dumb. You're already too wise and badass for it to sound good on you. Hiruzen grumbled at Naruto's lack of respect for his amazing way of speaking but continued walking until he came to a stop. Girls, I seem to have forgotten the layout of this place. Do you two perhaps know a way to a gate like stone? Something. Hinata and Naruto face-palmed and turned the Hokage around. They proceeded to point to the gate like something the Hokage was searching for. Yes, I knew that. I was just testing you. Maybe. Sasuke wasn't even paying attention at what there was happening as he and Kakashi looked down in what seemed like. There wasn't even a word for it. The place was beautiful. Not exactly livable but mesmerizing. The bountiful trees, the river that seemed to flow down from what seemed like stairs from long ago. It was an ancient fort. But now they thought about it. It really wasn't livable. How in God's name was this a compound? Naruto, come here and wipe some blood on this sign. Naruto nodded and took a good look at the gate. There was something that looked like a bird which pointed its beak to a whirlpool. The Hokage pointed to the eye of the bird which was yellow and had some kind of alchemy-like sign on top of it. She bit her finger hard enough to break through the skin and draw blood. She wiped some of the crimson liquid on the eye and the eye shined bright with a magenta hue. The doors opened and the first one to say something was Sasuke, who was already out of character today. Oh my Rikudu on a breadstick. Oh my Rikudu on a breadstick. God, Sasuke. Now I'm going to have the image of God as a hot dog in my head for the whole day. What's so amazing about the other side of a lone gate holy shit. Inside of the gate was a gray mass-like substance and on the other side there were large gardens. The gray substance reacted like water and distorted the image of the other side. However, it was obvious that the other side was huge. Naruto stuck her finger in the gray substance. It felt velvety and silky like water but a bit thicker and heavier. It light up where she touched but it didn't feel hot or anything. What is this Gigi? This gray thing is what you call a time-space portal and is the compound's ultimate defense. This gate is indestructible with the amount of seals in the gate that were written and then covered in the next layer of stone while building. The gray mass the gate produces brings us to another time basically. However, if you're not of Uzumaki Namikaze blood, you'll never get in. If you still try to force yourself in then you'll be transported in another time and won't return, ever. This is a mechanism made in case someone takes some blood during a fight and wipes it on the seal. Your parents truly were geniuses. Indeed, but that's to be expected of Sensei and Kushina-senpai, said Kakashi, chest puffing out from pride for his deceased teacher and his wife. But what if people had to come over for a celebration or something? Asked Naruto. If her friends wanted to come over, they would be transported to some time unknown. And she rather not have that Shikamaru ended up with the dinosaurs. Actually, maybe that's not a bad thing for him to be honest. Nobody would nag about doing something instead of staring at the clouds all day. I'll show you in a minute. Hiruzen turned to Sasuke and Ko. No one touches the time-space portal, am I clear? Naruto and I are going to take care of our little problem of getting you in, so just wait patiently until we get you. Sarutobi then held out his hand for Naruto to hold. But Gigi, you're not a Uzumaki Namikaze either. She held his hand but couldn't help but ask. Sarutobi was old after all and easily forgot things. Your parents have already taken care of that. He pulled Naruto through the portal, leaving behind Hinata, Kakashi and Sasuke. Being pulled through the portal was strange but felt so good. The stress literally fell off her shoulders, the soft feeling on her skin was heavenly. It felt so fluffy and soft and so warm. It wasn't cold but not hot either. She made a disapproving sound when the feeling left her but the stress did not return. Hiruzen laughed. Felt good, didn't it? Minato, being the Hokage, gave him a great amount of stress, so to prevent breaking down because of the stress, he adjusted the seal that regulated the time-space portal and put in a calming seal which rids those who come through it of all stress and worries. It's addictive to most. If it's that addictive, then I think people will only come visit me for that damn portal instead of me. Naruto nodded and then looked around with a perfect fish imitation. Forget huge, the place was giganormous. That's not a word, kid. Well, it is now. She was in a very big courtyard in a newly built Japanese, medieval hybrid fortress. The garden was 550 meters wide and the grass was neatly cut. The bushes were cut into a labyrinth and the flowers were planted with utmost care. There were lilies, rare bluebird roses, foxknives and beautiful autumn ursulines. There were oak trees, sakura trees and honeysuckle trees planted neatly beside the road to the castle-like mansion. The mansion was something like a modern Japanese castle. Each layer had about 3 floors instead of the usual 1 floor that old Japanese castles had. In result, the mansion was larger than usual but had less layers. The roof was black, its walls were red, the decorations on the house were made of gold and the whole building was supported by wooden beams. The dark building contrasted beautifully with the light garden. The whole garden was surrounded by a big stone wall, seals carefully carved on its surface, and there was animal life everywhere. Butterflies, ladybugs, squirrels, you name it. The whole thing looked like something from a picture book actually. Whistle. You've got a nice place. I'm jealous. Oh, so the meadow that took so long to prepare for you isn't good enough for you? Fine, I have no problem with putting you in that cage again. I didn't mean it like that. Geez, you really love to bully me, don't you? That's not true, I'm just taking revenge for 3 years ago. You still remember that? Yes, I do, and there's no need to get jealous. The place is big and there are no Kyuubi haters here, so I can let you out for a while. You are an angel. Thank you so much. Whoa, where did that come from? You don't know? No one ever allowed me to run free for a while. My previous Jinchurikis just locked me away. Not even caring about any of my feelings. To them, I was a beast. A bastard not deserving kindness. Your mother was one of the few who treated me neutral but never let me out. I started hating humans, and to be honest, I still do. You're the only one I can trust. And now, to be able to run on real grass is like a dream to me, to once again smell the fresh spring air. For giving me this chance, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Naruto mentally smiled at the fox. You're welcome. You'll have to wait until everyone is able to come in here though. The fox nodded in understanding. You hear that, Izuru, Nagito, Genocide Shochan? And for God's sake, stop talking to your tails. Is something wrong, Naruto? You look a bit flustered. Asked Sarutobi. The girl looked a bit out of it. She was staring at the same spot the whole time as if thinking hard about something. Yeah, don't worry about it. I'm fine. So what now? Now, all you have to do is turn around, go back to the gate, make the hand signs I will show you in a minute, and say these words. I, as the master of this household, allow hereby, name, to enter our compound as long as she abides by the rules. Is that clear? As crystal. She turned around to face the gate, only to be shocked once again. How much money did my parents actually have? On the other side was another mansion. A little smaller than the previous one. This building had a brown roof, yellow walls and black, polished beams supporting it. Wait. It didn't have golden decorations on it, but she didn't think it needed any. It was beautiful enough without it. A lot. Oh, wow. Thanks, it's not like I could sort that out myself. Naruto snorted with a sarcastic voice. But damn, this place was fit for a king. Oh, right. The irony. Just, give me the hand signs already. Naruto was getting more tired as the minutes passed. She had found out enough for today. She grumbled when she remembered that she still had to search her bedroom in one of those giganormous mansions. And it would no doubt be a pain to climb all of those stairs that were no doubt waiting inside that building. She hadn't seen the inside yet, but she doubted that the whole building was just one big, hollow space. The Hokage sighed at the girl's disrespect but let it slide. It had been a long day for everyone and he understood the girl's patience growing thin. Either that or she had her monthly package today. The hand signs are sheep, ox, rat, snake, snake, monkey, snake, and the last hand sign is a special one. He balled up both his hands and brought them together. He then raised his index fingers and brought them together. Then he took his ring fingers and crossed them. This is the wolf hand sign. A hand sign only used in the Namikaze secret jutsus. You know what to do next, don't you? Naruto nodded and made the series of hand signs. She then repeated the Hokage's words. I, as the master of this household, allow hereby Hyuga Hinata of the Hyuga main house to enter our compound as long as she abides by the rules. Then it was time for Kakashi's ticket to Wonderland. She made the series of hand signs again and spoke in a loud, clear voice. I, as the master of this household, allow hereby Hitaki Kakashi, head of the Hitaki clan, to enter our compound as long as he abides by the rules. And last but not least, Sasuke. I, as the master of this household, allow hereby Sasuke Uchiha, the last loyal Uchiha, to enter our compound as long as he abides by the rules. The hawk's eye shone bright with green light this time, letting her know the request was accepted. There, done. She was pretty proud of herself. She usually didn't remember things as well as this, and she was praising her memory for doing its work for once. Ducky's going to be so jealous, she thought with a smirk. When attempting to walk through the portal, she was hoisted on Sarutobi's back. The blonde yelped in surprise, and Sarutobi used this chance to get the girl in the position he wanted. It took a while, but he got the girl to piggyback ride him. He may be old, but his body was still strong since he trained every day. It was his duty as a Hokage to keep training, even now that he had exceeded the age of 60. Wah! What are you doing, Gigi? She pulled down the skirt of her dress by reflex. She even forgot that she wore shorts underneath her dress in the midst of the embarrassing situation. I felt like it. He didn't say anything else, but in reality, he wanted nothing more than to embrace her and not let go for 2 hours. She was growing up so fast, and he didn't like it one bit. He still remembered her birth like it was yesterday. His wife, Bawako, had helped Kushina when she was giving birth. He had lost her the very same day, but in return got a little ball of compressed sunshine. Naruto could get anyone to cheer up and warm even the coldest of hearts without them realizing it. For her to grow up this fast was sad, and he would like to have Naruto on his back for one last time. The girl would soon hit puberty and would tell him she would be too old to get a piggyback ride or something. Who am I kidding? No matter what, Naruto would always have that childish side to her. Nothing could destroy that. He smiled at the thought of an adult Naruto acting like a 5-year-old when she saw something she liked. Usually the forbidden jutsu children often used would be forgotten over time, but Naruto never forgot it. That dreaded, puppy eyes no jutsu, was a fearsome technique, not to be taken lightly. Naruto huffed in annoyance but quickly began to enjoy the nostalgic act her surrogate grandfather started. His firm muscles were a shock to her, they were rock hard. Her grandfather was truly the definition of bad Asura. Imagine this as a pairing. I think I'm going to barf. Sarutobi firmly grasped her legs so she didn't fall off and entered through the portal. The warm feeling crept into her being again and found Sarutobi's words spot on. It's actually getting addictive. When getting on the other side, she was surprised when Sasuke suddenly blushed. What is he blushing about? She suddenly heard Hinata squeal and Kakashi had red stains on his face mask. I'm getting confused. She then noticed a rumbling feeling in her chest. Wait, am I purring? Crap, she found out. Why am I purring? I had to think of something to say, quick. That's a side effect of me being sealed into you, obviously. You're keeping something from me. No, I'm not. Yes you. Hinata jumped on Naruto while squealing about all the adorableness. Naru, you're just like a kitty cat. Naruto blushed. And no, I'm not. Kakashi was in heaven. Catgirl heaven to be exact. That's right. It's been a while since I have read Icha Icha Wild Animal Girl Chronicle. Sasuke, while also thinking about the same things as Kakashi, was still thinking innocently. She purrs just like a cat. I wonder, what would happen if I petted her hair? Naruto pushed Hinata off her with a blush on her face. I'm not cute. Yes you are. From now on, I'm going to call you Neko-chan, exclaimed Hinata brightly. If you're going to call me Neko-chan, then I'll call you Yandere-chan. Hinata looked at her with a sad face. Oh, alright, fine. The Hokage shook his head. To be young again. He smiled at the children smiling or blushing in Sasuke's case and suddenly burst out laughing. A Uchiha blushing was an amusing sight. It was even funnier because he knew the kid did his best to act as Uchiha-like as possible. He had to admit that the kid did a good job until now. But his not-so-secret crush was slowly peeling off the farce. It's not funny, Gigi. Oh, but it is, Naruto dear. Now that you all had your moment, let's go to the other side. Shall we? Hinata looked up with stars in her eyes. Can we finally go? Sarutobi nodded with a pleased smile on his face. Yes, we have taken care of our little problem. Hell yeah. Hinata screamed loudly in Naruto's ear. Why does she always do that? Hina-chan language. I've been cursing as well because of you, you know. Hinata nodded and gave Naruto a hug. I'm sorry, Naru-chan. Naruto sighed. Hinata acted as if she was bipolar again. Sasuke was getting nervous. Darn it, Sasuke, act like a Uchiha. Be brave. He stuck out his shaking hand and looked sideways with a blush spread wide on his face. Naruto blinked at the strange un-Sasuke-like action but smiled immediately after she got over her confusion. She took hold of Sasuke's hand and let him pull her up. She then saw his face grow hotter when he suddenly raised his hand and pet her hair. She couldn't help but purr at the action. Sasuke suddenly got a nosebleed and smiled at her sheepishly. "Now he looks cute. I don't get what girls saw in him when he had the personality of a cardboard box. Still looks a bit weird though." She handed the boy a handkerchief. "Here, wipe your nose with this." She then walked over to the gate and waved to Kakashi. "Come on, Kakashi ni, snap out of it already and come over here." Kakashi stared at the girl. "You finally called me by my name." Naruto giggled and nodded. "Of course I do. You're my godfather, right? Why shouldn't I?" Kakashi smiled and practically skipped over to her. She then jumped on his back and pointed to the gate. "Giddy up, horsey." Kakashi chuckled and ran into the portal. He didn't think this day could get any better and he was wrong. He ran through the portal and was in total bliss. Screw staying here for the night. I'm going to live here. Yeah, the portal was addicting all right. When once again arriving on the other side of the gate, he was more than impressed with his teacher. "I never thought I would say this. But sensei, you da man." Kakashi looked at the mansion in awe. "Yep, definitely not going home this week." Next to come out of the portal were Sasuke and Hinata. "Ow, what the hell, duck butt? Don't go and fall over nothing." "I didn't fall down. You made me trip." "Did not. God damn, they're annoying. Why don't you just try and, distract them?" "That's a great idea. And I know just the thing to distract them." "And what's oh, I get it." Naruto mentally nodded with a grin on her face and made a series of hand signs. Demonical summoning, Kyuubi no Yoko. Poof. When Sarutobi came out of the gate he almost shit his pants at what he saw. Impossible. Kurama made a peace sign with his paw, grinning like a total madman. He was enjoying this more than that one time he saw Shikaku with makeup on his face. The Hokage was practically pissing his pants right now. The weird Hyuga girl was squealing again since he was so fluffy, as she called it, and the Cyclops fainted, foam dripping from his mouth. The Uchiha though was amusing him the most. He just stood there, his eyes only widened by a fraction. He still stood firm on the soil under his feet. Not bad, Uchiha. He hated Uchihas with passion, so when he said something, or thought in this case, to compliment one, it meant that they were either very powerful or had the potential to become powerful. Not only that, but the un-Uchihaness was a true blessing to the fox. He might try to act strong and mighty, but inside he was as soft as a marshmallow, and that was the kind of person he liked. The kid was the same. She tries to act all stern and polite, but in the inside she was a kind individual with a terrifying aggressive side. Hinata however influenced her, and thus she became a bit sarcastic as well. HMPF. What's wrong, little humans? Too scared to say ANYTHI? Kurama, stop fucking yelling into our goddamn ears and calm the fuck down. What are you, 5? WHO do you think you're talking to? I'm the great, dead nine-tailed demon fox if you don't lower your damn volume. You're not fooling anyone. Now stop yelling in our ears before we go deaf, or I'm going to take 3 of your tails and shove them up your ass until you throw them up from your godforsaken loud mouth. Kurama's eyes widened when he saw a black aura forming around her, and in her eye twitched like crazy. He could swear he saw the Shinigami standing right behind her. 3 words came to his mind. Uzumaki temper activated. Fuck his pride, he wanted to survive. He shrunk from his proud posture to a scared one and held his tails between his legs. He lowered his head down to Naruto as a sign of complete submission. His head however reached the ground faster than he anticipated. Naruto giggled as she understood why the fox was confused. While still bigger than her and Hinata combined, the fox had shrunk. He was about 4 meters in height, a very big change from his original 100 meters in height. The fox himself didn't look too pleased with the change. Why am I so small? Because I don't have enough chakra to make you bigger. You might have a ton of chakra, but since it's sealed I had to use my own. And unlike you, I didn't have centuries to store chakra. Kurama pouted but inwardly smiled. She did have a point. Oh, come on Q-ni. Don't sulk. Naruto petted the fur of the large 9-tailed fox in an attempt of calming him down. She could slightly understand the fox. Being small was not fun, she could know with her small stature, and she pitied the fox. Kakashi had woken up a few minutes prior and understood the fox's pain. He would be down too if his most important part would shrink. Which was his precious Wizu if you didn't figure it out yet. This did not mean that he didn't glare to the reason his sensei died, however. He kept focusing all his killer intent on the 9-tailed animal, which was only amusing the Biju. Do you hate me? Asked Kurama with a grin. He knew he should be offended but instead only laughed at the Junin's anger. The continuing glare was enough confirmation for the furred beast. Hey, he, ha 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 ha, oh god, this is so rich. The poor human thinks that his scary, killer intent is going to hurt me. Like I care if some stupid hairless ape hates me. Kurama turned his back to Kakashi after voicing a loud humph, and walked over to his adoptive little sister. Naruto sighed. Kakashi-ni, please don't be like that. Are you telling me that you forgive him? That monster is the reason you father die. Slap. Naruto slapped Kakashi with the back of her hand. The sound resounded in the abandoned fortress and everything was suddenly dead silent. Only the wind dared to move. Have you actually looked further into that night's incident? You obviously haven't, have you? Then you have no right to talk about him like that. Do you have any idea how Ku-ni feels about being blamed for something he had no control over? How frustrated he feels. He and I are the same in this regard. I too am hated for something I never wanted. If you blame him, you also blame me. Naruto glared at her teacher. She was clearly upset about what her teacher and godfather had said. What is there to look further into? He was there, he killed and destroyed and then got sealed in you. End of story. Let me give you a hint. She pointed at Sasuke. Kakashi's eye widened at what Naruto was implying. Sharingan. Naruto nodded. Sharingan, she said in confirmation. After being freed from his prison inside my mother, a man with an orange mask put him in a powerful genjutsu. And well, you know the rest. Hey, thanks for worrying about me, kid. But I don't think that brainless naked ape is going to change his mind. It's human nature to find something to blame. That is, if he is even getting what you're saying. He obviously isn't the smartest at home, if he even has a house. Of course I have a house. Who do you think I am, you demon? Naruto flicked Kakashi's forehead and gave him a reprimanding look. Calm down and stop fighting. A measly insect who lost all his money to porn books and can't pay his rent anymore. And you stop taunting him. Now shake hands and apologize to each other before I get mad. Or else. Kakashi pouted underneath his mask. But Naru, we're both grown men. That would look way too childish and embarrassing. Was that another remark about my height, you fiend? What do you think, you overgrown furball? Naruto's eyebrow twitched like crazy and she was dangerously close to snapping. And believe me when I say that Naruto's snapping was a very bad thing that should be avoided by all cost. You two are going to apologize to each other right now before I rip off both of your precious packages and give you a change. Understood? But Naru, whined Kyuubi. Now, Naruto was not in the mood for this shit. The next bed she saw would be hers for the night. She was too damn tired to deal with this. Hinata was lying on the floor, laughing hysterically as the two shook hands. Kyuubi's hands. Paw hands were too big, so he stuck out one finger instead. Kakashi took hold of the finger as if he was a newborn clutching his mother's finger and shook it hardly, giving him a weak glare. I'm very sorry, Furry-san, he said in a sickly sweet voice dripping with malice. Kyuubi too smiled, and it would have looked genuine if his eyebrow didn't twitch very so often. I'm sorry too, old man. Naruto smiled, satisfied that the two made up. Alright, now that's solved, let's go explore inside and look for a soft, warm, great, inviting bed. She marched to the mansion, castle thing with red walls and left the rest behind. Sasuke just stared at the retreating form of Naruto with a "WTF" expression on his face. Hinata giggled. Naruto's really dense and doesn't understand that they haven't made up yet. Don't worry, if it's necessary, she'll notice it in time. Sasuke nodded while resisting the urge to face Palm. Of course, she was like that too yesterday. How could I forget that she was this dense? It is necessary to know these things if I wish to court her with the intention of marrying. And having lots of little Narutos, Sasukes and Sasanarus running around. Oh god, what the hell am I thinking? I only know him 2 days and Kakashi's already influencing me. Let's go after he. Oh my Rikudo, Lord Hokage. Are you alright? The Hokage stood there, mumbling incoherently, probably in shock. Seeing the Kyuubi didn't have a good effect on him. Or stay here and help the Hokage out of his shock. Sasuke replied tiredly. Hinata sighed as she nodded. This is going to get annoying, isn't it? Inside the big castle, mansion thingy. Naruto opened the heavy wooden doors with her thin arms. You would think of such thing as impossible with the lack of muscle mass, but she miraculously opened it with ease. Having pink muscle truly was something amazing. She peeked inside with brimming curiosity and smiled. Inside were stairs leading to the next floor and a fluffy royal red carpet covering the floor. The soft material could be a perfect sleeping spot and she wouldn't get stiff the next day. Without thinking, she jumped on the soft carpet, not even bothering to examine the rest of the room, and wound her arms around her knees. This feels so good, Tilda. She didn't need a bed anymore. This place was just fine. In mere seconds she was asleep and oblivious to the world around her. She curled herself in the furry carpet and let out very soft, cute snores while unconsciously searching for something to hold in her sleep. She wiggled around, missing her little stuffed raccoon Shin. She got the little thing from one of her other's adoptive brothers. The Biju met every few years to talk to each other. She didn't know all the technical mumbo-jumbo, but the gist of it was that the Bijus teleported their consciousness to a fake body. Naruto always did it herself too and always got gifts from the big multi-tailed animals. Shikaku, who was strangely careful and kind-hearted to the girl, always gave her stuffed animals and hairpins decorated with flowers made of compressed sand. The two tails named Matabi, a two-tailed cat, gave her perfume and incense that gave a calming effect since she knew that Naruto always got stress from her daily life. The three-tailed turtle, Isobu, enjoyed to play shugi with her and gave a gold piece every time she saw him. The four-tailed ape Son Goku gave her clothes that mended themselves when being damaged since he knew how clumsy she could be, especially when she trained. The five-tailed dolphin horse Kakuo gave her a Huuuuuuuuuge mountain of heavenly Pocky. Ramen was her favorite food, but Pocky was her all-time favorite snack. She ate 12 boxes of Pocky every day without a fail, and she loved every flavor in existence. Strawberry, banana, pear, milky chocolate, dark chocolate, white chocolate, orange, lemon, raspberry, and the best Pocky of all time, sweet green tea flavor. That one was just out of this world. It was so good and yummy, and it was just really good if you know what she meant. The six-tailed beast, a big slimy slug named Seiken, gave her these amazing bath lotions and other things which smelt good and was good for the skin. The eight-tailed ox with the body of an octopus, or like she called him, Octo-Ox, was named Gyuki, gave her sealing ink of the best quality, and Kurama granted her a kimono or yukata if she behaved well. She missed Shin a lot, especially since he was such an important gift from Shukaku ni-sama. She frantically started to search in her sleep until she suddenly found something to cling onto. This something was Sasuke, who thought the girl had hurt herself or something. Said Uchiha had just fainted. Again at the sudden embrace the girl gave him and collapsed on the floor next to her. Blood seeping from his nose. Kakashi only shook his head. Children. He picked up both children and supported them by putting an arm underneath both of their backs and let them lean on his chest. Hokage-sama, where's the master bedroom? Kakashi asked. On the second floor, first door to your left. Kakashi nodded and walked to the room. There was only one problem though. When arriving there, neither Naruto nor Sasuke would let go of his shirt. It can't be helped, and he just lied on the four-poster bed with them both. Next day, Kakashi and Sasuke grumbled as they both sported a large handprint on both their cheeks. Let's just say Naruto didn't react very well to the fact that she woke up next to two men, and just continue the story, shall we? She looked over to Sakura, who was pestering Sasuke again with dates and concern of her lover's cheek. In her hand she held a little black box, and on her finger there was some smelly ointment which Naruto wouldn't personally wear even in death. It would smell worse than her already decomposed body. She turned to her godfather, who was crying anime tears, and snorted. "You're not going to get my attention by crying, you know. I can try," he said with a slightly upset voice, and Naruto just shrugged. They walked over to the mission quarter, and Kakashi was the one choosing the mission. It wasn't that big there, it was the size of a large house, but you would think that in a village with thousands of ninjas it would have been bigger. Her teacher came back with a green scroll in his hand. "What are we going to do?" asked Sakura. Kakashi eyes smiled. "Just catching some demonic cat named Tora. I hate that stupid cat." Sakura voiced her opinion very clearly. Naruto was sure half of Konoha had heard her, poor people. You can't blame him, Sakura. His master squeezes him to death every time he comes close to her. I would do the same. Naruto tried to calm the pinkette. She could understand that she was annoyed with the cat. But, seeing as the girl was insulting her every chance she got, she was quite pleased that Tora had scratched open half of her face. "Karma's a bitch. That is, if you're one yourself. I don't care," Sakura screeched. "That stupid pile of fur ruined my beautiful face. It must pay for what it did." Naruto gave her a "are you serious" look and simply sighed as she accepted the fact that the pink-haired girl couldn't understand that the little thing didn't want to die of suffocation. "Just help find Tora, okay? So you can tend to your beautiful face when we're done." Sakura snorted. "I was planning to." Sasuke growled at the way Sakura was acting towards Naruto. She was annoying enough when she came clinging to him like he was some prize, but now there were no words for what Sasuke wanted to do to her. First she claimed that he of all unlucky people was her true and only love, and then she had the gall to call Naruto a cross-dressing bitch. Oh, if only he could get his hands on her. "There you are, you little bastard, come here so I can skin you and use your hide as a purse." Sakura ran behind the poor thing as soon as she saw him and chased Tora through the busy town. Naruto merely shook her head as she saw Sakura disappear behind a dark, shady alley. Really, when will that girl learn that frightened animals always either flee or fight back? You know, something that's supposed to be common sense doesn't fit inside her head, right? Said Sasuke with a smirk. Naruto gave him a reprimanding look. Poor Sakura. She loves you, you know. You should be a little nicer. Sasuke grumbled as he tried to avoid the people on the road at the marketplace. But she called you a bitch, he whispered. Naruto blinked innocently before smiling. So you're worried then? She ran over to Sasuke and gave him a big hug. Thanks, Sasu. You're welcome, Naru. Sasuke tried to hide the blush on his face as he felt the younger girl hug him. She snuggled her face into the crook of his neck and sniffed. Wow, you smell nice, Tilda. What kind of perfume do you use? It smells, sniff, like blueberries and licorice wood. It smells kinda spicy too, like cinnamon or something. I don't use any perfume. I do use a special brand of soap called Manax, but don't wear anything else in particular. He answered. He felt like Hinata before she changed in the scary, monster-like person she was today. He unconsciously shuddered at the memory. I see. That's unfortunate. Naruto was disappointed. She quite liked the way the boys smelled and wouldn't have minded to smell the same way. It was pretty soothing actually, and she didn't mind saying it. It had been a week since they got their first mission and the two had grown a little more comfortable with each other. They talked, teased each other, and sometimes even rolled over the floor in laughter at each other's tendencies as if they had known each other for years. The downside was that Pepto-Bismol, aka the Pink Banshee, was calling Naruto names and pushed her away when walking next to her beloved. Sasuke tried to ignore her while Naruto acted polite towards the girl. But even Buddha lost patience after being insulted 3 times, and Naruto was gradually losing patience. Which was really something coming from someone who was one of the most patient people on the planet. Ah, get it off me. Seems she got herself attacked by the cat, again. Sasuke stated bluntly. He groaned as he heard the next thing the pink thing screamed. Sasuke, save me, my love. Come rescue me from this foul demonic beast. It's going to kill me. Naruto couldn't stop herself from laughing out loud. She clutched her stomach and fell on the ground. The people on the marketplace stopped with what they were doing and looked towards their princess in curiosity. Naruto slammed her fist into the ground repeatedly as she was laughing hysterically. Ha 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 ha, she thinks the cat's, ha 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 ha, actually going to kill her. P P P F F F F F H A H A H A H A H A H A H A H A A. Oh God. Sasuke I ha ha ha. Pity you so my friend. Ha ha ah ha ah ha 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 ah ha ha. Poor Sasuke just got put in the friend zone. Calm down kid, you're going to choke if you don't stop laughing. Peef ha ha ha. But it's so, ha 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 ah ha ha ha, funny. It's not going to be funny if you're dead. She kept laughing for a few minutes before she finally was able to calm the fuck down, as Kyuubi called it. Naruto still had the giggles but it was better than nothing. Okay, I'm done. Let's go to Pinky Kardashian before she loses her stunning beauty to poor Tora. Sasuke nodded and followed Naruto as she walked to the screeching noise. 5 minutes later inside a dark shady alley. Sakura screeched as the cat was ruining her new dress. She had purchased it to please the eyes of her eternal love, Sasuke, who apparently loved the color red. She didn't care if the furry animal was scared and tried to defend itself. All she cared about was that her dress survived the battle. Sakura ruthlessly grabbed a kunai from her kunai holster and tried to stab the critter, only to be stopped by Naruto. What do you think you're doing? Her voice was cold, almost emotionless. However, it felt like a sea of malicious intent could be felt raging beyond that cold facade. Sakura flinched as Naruto added more pressure to her wrist and tried to pull her arm away, which only resulted in Naruto squeezing even harder. I think you didn't hear me, so I'll repeat myself. What do you think you're doing? That's none of your business. She screamed. Naruto growled in clear annoyance. Not my business. Not my business. You're telling me that Tora, who had done nothing wrong, was almost killed. By you, might I add. Is none of my goddamn business? If you don't tell why you almost did what you were going to do right this instant, I swear I will take away your chance to ever get children. That is, if you even find a man stupid enough to endure that rotten personality of yours. Fine, you want to know why? That stupid furred waste of space there has ruined my dress. Your dress. You tried to kill him because of a stupid dress? Are you retarded? Naruto finally snapped. Fuck being polite. This girl was the most bitchy person she had ever met. She tried to rid a sentient being of life for the sake of a stupid rag. What the actual fuck? Shut up. Do you know how much this dress cost me? I had to save 3 weeks of allowance just to buy it. Oh I see. Well I guess it's alright since a fucking life is worth less than 15 bucks. How would you feel if some pink-haired Okama chased you through town? I don't think you would let yourself be touched by someone like that either, would you? I'm not an Okama. Sakura tried to defend herself. It's just a stupid cat anyway. Naruto took a deep breath and smiled in a sickly amused way. Oh, a stupid cat you say? Naruto's voice was terrifying in its own way. The sweet voice dripped in malice that came from her mouth struck fear in Sasuke and Sakura. Kakashi, who was watching his team's interaction from afar, was rather impressed by the way his godchild was using killer intent. However, he knew that most of the killer intent she was using was borrowed by the Kyuubi. He didn't like the fact that she used it on her teammates either. Must I remind you that Tora is the cat of the daimyo's wife? If Tora dies I'm sure she would be very sad and would grieve her pet's death. I doubt that the daimyo would be very pleased with the fact that his wife was stricken with grief. What do you think would happen if they found out you were Tora's executioner? And for something as petty as a dress no less? Sakura shivered as she heard joy and giddiness in every word Naruto said. Her legs were failing her as she saw her teammate's face. Naruto was smiling. But that was not why she suddenly felt this sudden fear. Instead of the blue forgiving eyes Naruto used to have, there were 2 scarlet eyes glaring at her. She took joy out of Sakura's fear and showed it. Just like a cat who played with a mouse before devouring it, she was looking at her with joy which coming from her prey's agony. They would punish you for sure. They could even execute you for killing that stupid cat, as you call him. Oh, I wonder how they would kill you. Maybe by drawing a target on your giant forehead and using you for target practice. That would be such a wonderful thing to see, your useless, filthy, good-for-nothing brain splattered onto the floor. That disgusting face of yours forever stuck in a terrified expression. Your loud mouth filled with blood and most of all your atrocious pink hair painted crimson. Wait, no, I just got an ingenious idea. How about we first chop off those arms and legs of yours since you don't seem to use them during missions. Sprinkle you with a nice amount of pepper and salt. Let you tender up by letting you get trampled by 10 horses and then roast you alive. I don't think Kurama would mind eating weakling tonight. Kit, stop, you're losing it. I don't want to, Q-ni. It's too much fun. Naruto giggled. Kyuubi realized that he had done something very stupid. It seemed like the purring wasn't the only thing that got added to his adoptive little sister, but a hunger for destruction as well. He wanted to bop himself on the head. He had done this too early, the kid was still too young to suppress her developed urges. Kyuubi growled as he realized what he had to do. He had to knock the child out, but he didn't want to. His Imouto had done nothing wrong, it was him that had caused this, yet his little sister might have paid the price. Yep, Kyuubi has done something to Naruto. But it probably won't be what you expected. Not going to tell what though tilde yeah, I'm evil like that. Forgive me, Naruto, he thought to himself as he forcefully pulled Naruto into her mindscape and put her to sleep. Inside Naruto's mindscape, Kyuubi wound all of his tails around her and pulled her close. Her body lied on top of one of his tails and he used the rest of them as a fluffy blanket. Kurama curled protectively around her and kept watching her with a guilty expression. I'm so sorry. The next day, Naruto opened her heavy eyelids as she felt a massive migraine. She clenched her teeth and was grinding them together as she tried to endure her huge headache. She hissed as she felt a wave of pain come over her body and sighed in relief when it settled down. Ow, what happened? My head hurts like a bitch. She held out her hand as she tried to block the harsh sunlight that was hurting her eyes and looked around. She was in a room she knew very well. She remembered the light wooden floor and the light-colored walls. The 4-poster bed she lied on, the dark wooden furniture and the black door. She was in her room. Naruto loved her room, the painting on the wall, depicting her father with his Hokage robes. Always brought a smile to her face. He looked funny, like a young person wearing the clothes of some deceased old-timer. Which probably wasn't very far from the truth seeing as every Hokage wore them. Her bed was soft and fluffy. The red and black eiderdown comforter didn't make her more aggressive or, well, you know what she meant. Instead it comforted her. She had heard that red and black were aggressive colors, but she thought they weren't. To her they were the exact opposite. The wooden floor had heating seals underneath them to keep the floor warm instead of the normal icy cold she had in her apartment. She was worried that it would be a little hot in summer, but hey. She wasn't complaining. The full-length windows were the entrance to her balcony that allowed her to gaze at the land from above. She had black curtains with black lace sewn onto. She loved lace, so she was extremely happy the first time she saw them. She was happy that she was in her room, but how did she get here? Hey Q-ni, what happened? Q-ni? Q-ni tilde what's wrong? Sorry. What are you talking about? Nothing. You just fainted. From what? I felt absolutely fine. And how did I get back home anyway? Kakashi carried you here together with Sasuke and decided to sleep here for tonight. Sasuke wanted to too, but Kakashi told him not to after he talked to the Hokage. You'll get harder missions from now on, because they think it isn't a good idea anymore for you guys to be involved in any D-ranked missions for a while. You're going to get a C-ranked mission today. Today tilde? Whined Naruto. But I feel like absolute shit, I know. But you don't really have choice in this matter. You'll have to go no matter what. But can't we just? No, and that's final. Can't I just tell Kashi that I feel really bad? For the last time, no means no. Geez, you're no fun. You didn't even tell me why I suddenly went to La La Land when I was reprimanding Sakura. Which reminds me, what happened with her? She's a bit traumatized if anything, but she's fine. How did she get traumatized? She's normally the person who traumatizes people. She even created the phobia known as pinkiphobia, or the fear of the color pink. Don't forget sakurapatophobia, fear for everything with the name Sakura in it. Yeah, I pity those people. But seriously, what scared her so much that she got traumatized? She didn't strike me as someone who's scared that easily. Let's just say that you went completely loco before taking a nap. How bad was it? Level 6. Wow. Never thought I would say this, but I actually feel bad for Sakura right now. A 6, damn. When Hinata filmed me at level 4, I was almost crapping my own pants. And it was because of myself. I know, I was there. But how come I don't remember anything? I usually remember some things from when I get angry. You're not getting any more information out of me. Fine. Naruto stood up from the bed only to fall right back on her butt. Great, now I'm going on a mission without the ability to stand on my own legs. Thanks Kurama. Hey, it's not my fault your godfather is a total ass who plans to go on a mission without knowing when his godchild wakes up. I don't need to hear your comments right now. She tried again, only to fall right back on the bed. Having trouble? Naruto looked in the direction of the voice and recognized the silver hair of her godfather and scowled. What do you think? Kakashi chuckled. His godchild looked so cute with her bed hair and her drowsy eyes. He walked over to Naruto and slowly lowered himself onto her bed. How do you feel? Like that one time Kurama sat on me. Which means horrible. She grumbled. Kakashi gave her a weak laugh. Talking about the president of douchey asshole furry muffin company, what has he told you? What did that stupid naked ape who will never get laid call me? A.N. Seriously Kurama? That's the best you could come up with? Naruto didn't respond to the fox and gave Kakashi a small glare. Oh, you know. He told me you planned a mission today. Ah, did he? Don't worry about it. I'll carry you on my back since you can't walk yet. He rubbed her head and found that her hair was soft even though she had a bad case of bed hair. Naruto pushed away his hand in an annoyed fashion and mumbled a few insults at Kakashi, who ignored her angry comments. Kakashi walked towards the closet and threw Naruto some clothes. Will you need help with getting dressed? He smirked underneath his mask when he saw Naruto's face flush red. Naruto threw her pillow at his face. Get out my room, Arrow Baka. Kakashi chuckled one more time before leaving. Call me when you're done, okay? Naruto nodded and started the struggle known as dressing. She looked at which clothes Kakashi had given her and was impressed with his good taste. He had given her a short-sleeved chain-mail shirt and a black top. The top had the Uzumaki Namikaze hawk on the back. It was stitched with golden wire and worked off with a red lining. Next to it were black fingerless gloves made of a very durable fabric and strong black leather. They reached her elbows and were fireproof too. Her pants were red and were quite loose. She didn't complain though, they gave her a good movement capacity. On the floor were her wedge shoes and to top off the outfit, there was a long black cloak with her family's crest proudly shown. Think of the Akatsuki attire but with a few changes. Nice, Kashi. Seems like you can do something good after all. A.N. Ooh, burned Kakashi. After about 20 agonizing minutes of trying to get on some clothes, she called for Kakashi whom helped her do her hair in a ponytail and helped her to the dining table. It took a while but Naruto did everything she needed to. After an hour and 13 minutes, they were on their way to the Hokage's office. They were greeted by the Hokage's secretary and were allowed to enter the office of their village leader. Hiruzen looked up from his paperwork when his door opened. Sasuke and Sakura were already patiently waiting for their teacher and teammate. Kakashi gave them an apologetic look. Sorry guys, I had to help Naruto eat her cereal. Naruto glared at Kakashi. What did you say Arrow, MMMPFF? Kakashi clasped his hand over Naruto's mouth and shushed. Shish, they'll think that I've done something very wrong if they hear your original, totally not a rip-off, nickname for me. Hiruzen just sighed at the duo and shook his head. Sasuke was glad Naruto had gone back to her usual self while Sakura shyly hid behind Sasuke. Ehem, not that I want you two to stop your fun moment together but you have a mission to do. Now, this mission is a simple escort mission. You are to escort a bridge builder to Wave and protect him from bandits. Are there any objections? He heard none. Okay, since there are no objections you can enter Tazuna-san. Naruto looked at the door opening and quickly pinched her own nose in order for the smell not to enter her nose. The air smelt strongly of alcohol and the stench of someone who didn't have a bath and had to bathe in the sewer. Huh? These all the goose woo will poitiched me. They're just, hiccup, kids. He calmly observed his protectors and grumbled. De kid owned the leafed sod Luke like ah diated heodlesf chicken will the one owned the rewide looks like a man in drag. The Hokage didn't seem to mind the smell or the way the man was talking. I assure you, Tazuna-san they're a strong bunch. I don't think you need to worry. There's also a Junin so there's no reason to worry. Naruto sighed, this was going to be one troublesome mission. A few hours later and a few bitchy insults of the man they were supposed to protect, They were at the gate of Konoha. Sasuke had a small but full backpack while Sakura looked like she was going on a hiking trip around the world. She had everything with her, her makeup to impress her, Sasuke-kun, perfume, her diet pills. Naruto shook her head. What Kunoichi took diet pills? If they trained enough they wouldn't need to find ways to lose weight. Naruto and Kakashi didn't carry anything with them and this fact didn't go unnoticed by Sakura. Sensei? Where are your and Naruto I mean Naruto Hime-sama's things? Naruto raised an eyebrow. Since when is she so polite? Since you had gone ballistic. Me getting angry doesn't just change a person. Have you seen yourself when you're angry? No, you haven't. Oh, shut up you. Kakashi chuckled. We sealed our things in some scrolls. It's better if you two do that next time too, Sakura. Sasuke. It's a lot lighter and you'll be able to move faster. Let's just go, you slow wankiers. Tazuna said as he pointed to the road and started marching to their destiny. This is going to be very troublesome. Naruto once again sighed before Kakashi started walking with her on his back. It was official, Naruto never wanted to start drinking alcohol. The road to Wave wasn't a very long one, but it would take 2 days to travel by foot. Tree jumping was out of the question since Tazuna's stomach was acting up from all the alcohol he had consumed. Jumping with him on someone's shoulder could only end bad. Their traveling time increased even more because of the old man's barfing. They had stopped a total of 23 times because he was puking his guts out. Not really a sight you would want to wake up to. Unfortunately for our protagonist, this was exactly the case after she woke up from a short nap. Naruto almost fell off Kakashi's broad and now warm, because of her body heat, shoulders. The image of thrown-up food from Tazuna's dinner kept reappearing in her mind. What Naruto didn't know was that Kurama was pranking her by showing the images over and over. He was fond of the girl, yes. But he was also a fox and foxes need their weekly pranks. Naruto on the other hand, wasn't very happy with it. She didn't want to see any more puked-out pieces of fish and carrots for God's sake. Not to mention the old man's rambling, or his confusion which wasn't too uncommon either. Naruto did enjoy them though. He called Sasuke, lady, and girl, while Sakura was called Pink Panther, and Conchita worst, whoever that was. Talking about Sakura, she didn't know what to think about her anymore. Sakura tried to avoid her most of the time, and when they talked, which was rare, the pinkette was as polite and careful as one could be. Not that Naruto was complaining, of course. It felt good not to be called a bitch or whore every 5 minutes, and her head appreciated the lack of hits it got. Sasuke on the other hand didn't like the change in Sakura's personality, which slightly confused Naruto. Does he like her? Maybe that's why he is in such a bad mood. He's getting less attention from her than usual. Yeah, that must be it. Ah, that's so cute. Sasutan's got a secret crush. She wasn't entirely wrong, he did have a secret crush but not on Sakura. And it wasn't really a real secret either. Naruto was pretty innocent for someone who cursed as much as she did. It almost shocked Kurama who was listening to Naruto's thoughts. He raised his paw, hand thingy and slapped his own forehead. How could she be so clueless? I think only God knows the answer to that question, Kurama. Tazuna quickly took a liking to her and tried to share his heavenly liquid with her. She refused since she saw the after effect of consuming the brownish-yellow substance. It kinda resembled something else. Wait, ew, now she definitely didn't want to drink it. Naruto rubbed her face on Kakashi's shoulder and purred contently as the rays of the disappearing sun touched her face. Kakashi's Junin flak jacket was draped over her back like a blanket and Naruto had to admit that it was great to be out of order during missions. She got paid for sleeping and being lazy. Life couldn't get any better for her right now. In Kakashi's case though, Kakashi glanced at Naruto before turning back to the road with a frown. He feared for Naruto's health. Naruto didn't get any better, her condition even seemed to get worse. She slept most of the time and didn't have an appetite. She didn't even want a taste of his instant beef ramen for God's sake. Something was definitely wrong with her. Her skin was still deadly pale and her heartbeat was slow, steady but slow. The dark bags under her eyes said she barely slept, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Strangest of all was that Naruto wasn't bothered by anything, like her body was sedated from feeling the bad effects. When Kakashi had asked her if she was in pain or was hurt somewhere, all she said was, Nah, I'm just really sleepy. I'm normally always hungry at this hour, but it feels like I just ate. I still can't stand on my own legs, but other than that, I feel amazing. The answer only worried him further. Her body was obviously suffering, it showed signs of fatigue, and her immune system was trying to defend her body against something without the girl noticing it. He sighed and looked up to the sky. The sun was going down and he decided it was time to set up camp. He took one last glance to the sick girl and then turned to his client and remaining students. "It's getting late," he said. "It's about time we set up camp. Sakura, go and gather some firewood, and Sasuke, you will go searching for something to eat. We need to save our provisions since this mission is going on longer than we first thought, since there were some technical difficulties with Tazuna-san's stomach." Tazuna smiled sheepishly at the glaring Sasuke. Kakashi clapped in his hands. "Come on, don't just stand there. Get to work, you too." Sakura nodded and ran into the forest. Sasuke also turned around, but before he walked into the sea of trees beside the road to wave, he stopped. "Kakashi," he began, his voice serious and grave. Kakashi's eye narrowed. "What is it, Sasuke?" Sasuke looked over his shoulder. "What's wrong with her? I never saw Naruto getting sick, especially not for this long." Kakashi sighed. "I don't know, Sasuke, I really don't. It's been bothering me, but I just can't find what's wrong with her. She doesn't seem that bothered by whatever she has. But it's obvious her body is." He combed his hair with his fingers, sighing as he did so. "I don't know, maybe it's not as bad as it looks. For now, all we can do is make her as comfortable as possible and wait. I'll ask Kyuubi if he knows what's wrong with her. This just isn't normal anymore. I promise she will get better, Sasuke, just go out to search for food." Sasuke nodded and also ran into the forest. He almost tripped as he heard Kakashi screaming one last thing. "Oh, and Sasuke, don't space out too much while thinking of Naruto as a catgirl housewife. Screw you, Hitaki, you damn pervert," he screamed back, only one thought appearing in his head. How the hell did he know about that? With Kakashi. Kakashi was in charge of making camp with Tazuna. Both he and his client knew their respectable jobs and started immediately. Kakashi searched for a clearing close to the road, but not too close so they wouldn't be detected too easily. After 7 whole minutes, the Junin found a small clearing close to a little spring. "Looks like we don't have to worry about water for now," Kakashi mused. He then cleared the clearing from the little branches on the ground and put it aside until Sakura returned with the firewood. It was great material to start a fire with. Tazuna took Naruto from Kakashi and made sure she was comfortable. He placed Naruto's head on his lap and combed through her hair with his fingers to calm her. Earning a content sigh from the girl, she snuggled into the touch and let out a soft rumble from her chest. "It still amazes me how cat-like she can be," he said to Kakashi, trying to begin a conversation. Kakashi chuckled and nodded while he was setting up the last tent. "Yes, just don't say that when she's listening, or you'll end up getting a large bump on your head." Kakashi finished setting up the last tent and wiped the sweat from his brow before walking over to Tazuna. He gave Naruto a soft pat on the head. "I'm going back to the road for a moment, Tazuna-san. I need to check my students are back yet. Are you coming with me?" Tazuna shook his head negative. "No, I'll stay here. I don't want to wake up our sleeping beauty here," he whispered with a grin, trying to not wake Naruto from her dreamless sleep. Kakashi nodded and left after he placed a quick protective barrier around their temporary base and shushined to the location he last saw Sasuke and Sakura. With Sasuke and Sakura, poof, Kakashi arrived at the road a few seconds later. He looked around for signs of his students only to find Sakura staring absent-mindedly at the trees. She was completely in her own world, absorbed in thought, and didn't even notice him. Sasuke, on the other hand, was leaning against a tree with 2 rabbits, 4 fish, a handful of nuts and a few eatable roots lying beside him. "What took you so long, Kakashi?" he said, irritated. "Easy, Sasuke. No need to get all upset. I'm here now, aren't I?" he said in a laid-back voice, his eye looking like an U upside down. Sasuke teased, before picking up the food from the ground and walking over to his silver-haired teacher. "Whatever, just don't get so late again." Yeah, whatever, Genin." Kakashi grinned when he saw Sasuke scowl. "Sakura," Kakashi screamed to get her attention. The pink-haired girl jumped up. "Hey, what? Kakashi-sensei? How long were you standing there?" "Longer than I should have, Sakura. Get over here before someone finds our camp. You wouldn't want Naruto to get hurt, would you? Sakura's eyes widened before she picked up the bundle of firewood she had gathered. She ran over to the two male members of her team and linked her arm with Kakashi's. What are we waiting for? Let's go already, you slowpoke. Kakashi chuckled. The talk the Hokage had with the girl apparently did a lot of good. He just hoped it was the right decision. Sasuke put his hand on Kakashi's shoulder and nodded to let his arrogant teacher know he was ready. Alright, are you two ready? He got two nods. Okay, here we go then. Poof. At temporary base of fluffiness. Poof. Smoke appeared in the little clearing Tazuna was sitting in. His coughing could be heard as smoke filled his lungs and his wheezing complaint was not left unheard. Can't you see that there's a sick person here? I don't care whether it's cool or not, keep your damn smoke in check. Who taught you guys manners? Shish, Tazuna-san, don't yell, you'll wake up Naruto. Kakashi put his finger on his lip and shushed. I think it's a little bit, yawn. Too late for that, Kashi. Kakashi smiled and patted her head. Good evening, Naruto. Did you sleep well? MMH, yeah. Wait, it's already evening? Naruto yelled. Why didn't you wake me up? Because you should rest as much as you can. You're sick so it's good if you sleep. Kakashi said in a matter-of-factly way. Naruto scowled. I already told you that I feel totally fine. Stop treating me as if I'm dying of some incurable disease. I swear to God. She slapped Kakashi's hand off her head and pouted. She glanced at Sakura and Sasuke. You're going to start making dinner? She asked. Kakashi nodded. Let me help. She tried to crawl to the middle of the clearing, but got stopped before she could really get anywhere. Listen Naruto, don't worry about anything and just relax. This is an order from your superior. Kakashi said. Naruto glared at him before cackling menacingly. You order me you say? Yes, I order you to lay back and watch. Kakashi repeated, but he couldn't help but feel uneasy. The grin on Naruto's face only spelled problems. And as who do you order me? She asked. As your Junin instructor and superior, of course. He answered. Kakashi began sweating bullets when Naruto's grin began to widen even further. It threatened to split her face almost in half. Then, I order you, as your princess, to let me help you with dinner. Am I understood, Junin Hitaki Kakashi? Wha? Did you really just say that Naru? That's not fair. Kakashi yelled. Naruto merely shook her head. Do you want us to be found, Kashi? Lower you voice. But you, how can you just? It's not fair, Kakashi said. And you using your Junin title is? But you're ill. Kakashi once again screamed. Tazuna coughed in his hand, getting attention from the rest. Look, if the kid feels fine. Let her help, she can stop if she feels bad all of the sudden or if she feels tired again. Naruto gave him the thumbs up. He then flashed a grin. His mouth was filled with white, shiny teeth which blinded Kakashi and his poor genin. Oh my god, my eyes. His teeth are even worse than guys. Kakashi fell to the ground dramatically while holding his eyes. He fell next to Sasuke and Sakura who were rolling on the ground, also holding their eyes. Naruto just put her arm before her eyes since she already went through the same thing. It happened when Kakashi went to get Sakura and Sasuke after he had set up camp yesterday. She woke up for a moment and the old man gave her the almighty grin of holy light. Imagine the title being said by some dude with an epic voice to get some drama in there. Which she got the honor of to see from close by. She looked at her teammates and sighed. Guess I'll have to start cooking without them. She took off her cloak and went to work. She asked Tazuna to make the fire while she cleaned the 2 rabbits and the 4 fish she saw lying on the ground. The old man agreed and carried her to the stream close to their camp. He then used the small branches for starting the fire and then threw the firewood on top of it to make the fire larger. Naruto called for Tazuna and the old bridge builder hurried to get her. When returning, she cut up the bunnies whom were now without pelt, head and intestines and rubbed some salt, oil and rosemary she had sealed in her scroll on the meat. She asked Tazuna to put the bunny above the fire to cook. She then put the fish on sticks she found around the stream and gave them to Tazuna after sprinkling some salt and oil over them. Tazuna also took the nuts she cracked out of their shells to the fire to roast them. Naruto took 5 plates out of her sealing scroll and put 2 roots and a half on each plate. She ate the last piece of eatable root and Tazuna gave her a reprimanding look. What? That isn't really fair, is it? You guys complained about me being all weak and stuff. Be happy that I'm hungry. Tazuna sighed. It's about time that you got hungry. It would the first time you ate in 2 days. Would you stop it already? I'm Naruto effin Uzumaki Namikaze and not some weak female. I'm a full-fledged genin, not that it's the highest rank, but I'm a kunoichi who deserves respect. I can take care of myself, you know. Tazuna looked at her, bothered. Look, it's good that you want to become independent but you're still a child. What will your parents say when you get home all sick and weary? Nothing, she answered. Pardon me? Tazuna questioned. They would say nothing. The dead can't talk after all, she said casually. Tazuna's eyes widened. Your parents are dead? Naruto nodded. Never even met them. They died hours after I was born. Who raised you then? Nobody. I lived the first 3 years in the orphanage before they threw me out and then spent the next 4.5 years somewhere else. She told him as she was staring at the fire and poked it with a stick. Where? I'd rather not think about it. She told him quietly. Oh, I'm sorry about bringing it up. Naruto gave him a grin and patted him on the shoulder. Nah, don't be. You didn't know. She picked up a little stone on the ground and threw it towards the downed Kakashi. Ow. Naruto snickered at her godfather and smiled at him. Dinner is ready, Kashi ni. Kakashi rubbed over his head. You could have just called me. Now, where's the fun in that? Naruto grinned at her godfather. Kakashi shook his head and picked up Sasuke and Sakura from their fetus position. 5 minutes later. Kid, you need to give me the recipe. Tazuna yelled in Naruto's poor innocent ear. And you need to stop drinking, but we both know that will never happen. You saw how I prepared the rabbit, so stop asking. But I wasn't paying attention. Tazuna pouted. Sasuke slowly walked over to Naruto and sat down very slowly. He took a hold of Naruto's shoulders with anime tears streaming down his face. Wait, what? Naruto, I want to hire you as my personal cook. Please accept, I beg you. Naruto whacked Sasuke on his head. Hell no. Do I look like someone who has the time to have 2 jobs? Sasuke smirked. Plan A3 goes into action. Well, I wouldn't mind if you come over to sleep at my compound every once in a while. It's lonely being alone in such a big estate. It's the same for you, right? It's a win-win situation. I can eat good food and you get great company. Naruto put her finger on her chin and tilted her head in a cute way. It doesn't sound bad. I'll think about it. I am against it. Kakashi interrupted. Naruto, if you want company, I would be glad to stay with you a few days. Please don't go to Sasuke's place. Naruto arched her eyebrow. Why not? Because. Wait, you didn't notice? Notice what? Naruto exclaimed. Sigh. Just don't. Okay. It's a bad idea. Hold on, Kakashi. Sasuke interrupted. What right do you have to decide that for her? Oh, didn't you know, little genin? I'm her godfather. I have every right to decide where she goes and not goes. Naruto slapped the back of Kakashi's head. I can take care of myself. Now shut up and eat before I shove it down your throat. Yes, ma'am. Both males screamed, scared as hell. Rule number 1 of Team 7. Never piss off Naruto. Was already engraved deep into their memory and they wouldn't disobey that rule anytime soon. Next day. Never do that to me again, old man. Naruto yelled at Tazuna from Kakashi's broad shoulders. I already told you I'm sorry. Forgive me already. You farted on my face. I was sleeping, give me a break. You farted on my face. Naruto repeated. I'm sorry. You better be. I am. Good. Now what happened 2 days ago again? Kakashi sighed. Those two looked like little children. Tazuna was 57 for God's sake. I said that when you were having another fantastical nap, we had a little fight with 2 Chunins known as the Demon Brothers. Chances are we'll meet even more opponents since Tazuna here, he pointed at Tazuna with his thumb, has apparently lied about the rank of this mission, and seeing who wants him dead, I doubt they would stop targeting him now. Naruto nodded in understanding. Demon Brothers. Where have I heard that name before? Who wants the old man dead? She asked. A man called Gato. He owns a large shipping company but is secretly involved in the black market. He's a horrible man who deals with slavery, thieving, and he has blackmailed thousands of innocent people. He has done many other things, but if we went through everything illegal he has done, then we would be sitting here until next week. Okay, but why would he want the old man Dia? Suddenly, something that could only be called a large butcher knife came flying towards them. Kakashi and Ko could avoid it just in time. Naruto's head whipped to the direction of a chuckling man. My, if it isn't Hitaki Kakashi of the Sharingan. Fancy meeting you here. Why if it isn't Zabuza Momochi? I should have known. Kakashi glared at the man before him. He was ready to give Naruto to Tazuna and let his genin protect the both of them. Imagine his surprise when he saw Naruto waving at the Jonin and calling him by the cutest nickname he had ever heard. Momo-chan. Naruto waved happily to the A-class missing nin like he was some normal acquaintance from down the street. Her smile was broad and kind of goofy while her eyes lit up like 1,000 stars. She kinda looked like a kid in a candy factory or a happy puppy, to be honest. Momo-chan. The man immediately reacted to her call. He turned his body around as her familiar voice reached his well-trained ears. His eyes scanned her body and face. The blonde hair and blue eyes tugged at his memory. The girl had a cloak protecting her body and her skin was deadly pale. It seemed like she was sick or injured and had lost a lot of blood. He guessed it was the first option since there was a lack of the crimson liquid. There was something on her cloak, but it was hard to see since her long hair was draped all over her back and hid the drawing, or in this case her family's crest, from sight. He then took a better look at her face. She had an adorable little nose and full lips. She also had those innocent eyes that pierced his very being and made him a bit nervous. The girl would be a man magnet in a few years, that much was sure. But that was not what was bugging him. The girl knew his name and looked familiar to him, but from where? His eyes widened in recognition when he saw the scars on her cheeks. Her pale complexion made them stand out even more, and thank God for that. He wouldn't have recognized her without them. The girl had grown so much. Naruto? Is that you? Zabuza whispered, too surprised to raise his voice. Naruto nodded positive with a smile on her face. It's been a long time, hasn't it, Momo? What's with the bandages? You look a lot more handsome without them, you know. She grinned when she saw Zabuza sputter in embarrassment with a light blush on his face. She laughed when she saw Zabuza glare at her. Probably wasn't happy with me grinning at him, she thought, amused. But anyway, she began after she had finished her laughing fit. It's nice to see you and all, but I doubt you're here for no reason. You won't find any pretty ladies on a road like this, ya know. Zabuza's face became as red as a tomato and smoke threatened to spill from his ears. I wasn't looking for damn PR prostitutes, you rebel. You're a rebel too. Naruto deadpanned. Zabuza blinked owlishly. You do have a point there. But screw you, Naruto. I'm not that kind of guy. Then why did you search for one in Konoha a few years ago? I already told you, it was to collect information. Just let it go. You haven't grown at all, have you? Neither your mind nor your height have. What did you say? Naruto yelled. You know, I do think I have grown over the years. Can't say the same thing about your tiny, pitiful eyebrows. She said with glee. Zabuza looked at her with wide eyes. Oh no, she didn't. Naruto giggled. Oh, yes. His eyebrows were a sensitive topic indeed. Well, it's been fun, Momo-chan, but I have a mission to do. She thought to herself. Zabuza. The tone in Naruto's voice changed drastically. It became heavier, more serious and professional. No more jokes. You are here for the old man, are you not? Zabuza nodded. He rubbed the back of his head tiredly. Indeed I am. Some whiny midget called Gato ordered me to kill Tazuna Mizukaze and promised equals to pay me enough to last a lifetime. I doubt it will be that much, but hey. Money is money, and money means living for another day. Naruto's jaw almost hit the ground. She then sighed as she massaged her temple. So let me get this straight. He promised you to pay you that much money? Yup. And you signed nothing, no agreement. Just, absolutely nothing? And you don't even know the exact amount of money he's going to pay you? Nope. Zabuza. Yeah? You. Damn. Idiot. You're the dumbest retard I have ever met. I pity those who have to live with someone worse than you. Meanwhile, in a parallel universe. Hey, when do we finally get there? Screamed an orange-clothed boy with blonde hair. Sigh, it's just a little longer, Naruto. Said Kakashi tiredly. Naruto, you idiot. Stop yelling, you're alerting other shinobis. Yelled Sakura. Dobi. Smirked Sasuke. What did you say, Te? Achu. What's wrong, kid? Are you catching a cold? Asked Tazuna. I just have the strangest feeling someone's talking about me from somewhere. If only he knew. Back in our universe. Do you even understand how stupid you are, you big dummy? Yes, Mom. Don't use that tone with me, young man. Kakashi's image of the fearsome devil of the mist was left completely shattered as he saw his student preach the man as if he was a little kid. He couldn't imagine Zabuza killing his whole graduation class anymore because every time he tried, he just imagined seeing Zabuza getting a scolding by a child 2 times younger than him. "You can't say that. I'm older than you," he answered. "I can when you're mentally younger than me." Ooh, that was a painful one. Kakashi winced. It wasn't very rude since she didn't curse, but it was a big blow to Zabuza's pride. Something that ninjas found very important and tried to preserve no matter what. Naruto knew how to humiliate her opponents. That much was obvious. Attack their pride and you practically already won the fight. An angry opponent is much easier to defeat. They attack while blinded by their hate and anger. Such was one of the lessons Konoha taught to their children. And what a useful lesson it was. Well, it's also true that Zabuza and Naruto weren't fighting in a life or death battle either. Ah, well. Zabuza's left eyebrow twitched in irritation as he cracked his knuckles. "You searching for a fight?" "It wouldn't be a fight, I'm afraid," Naruto said. Zabuza grinned. "What, you scared? You scaredy cat." "Oh, no. Of course I'm not scared. It's just that it wouldn't be fair, you see. It wouldn't be much of a fight." Naruto then cackled maniacally, a grin almost splitting her face. "It would be a one-sided slaughter with me claiming victory. HMPF, look at yourself. You're like a walking corpse and still claim to defeat me. Foolish." Zabuza snorted. "Fine kid, let's just settle this like we always do." "Agreed," Naruto voiced. Zabuza grabbed a hold of his sword stuck in the tree and pulled it out with a grunt. He then casually walked over to the group of leaf ninjas with his sword resting on his shoulder as he held it. Kakashi's eye narrowed and he took a hold of a kunai. He raised it to neck height in a defensive stance. "I don't know where you know Naruto from and I honestly don't care, but I won't let you get closer to my students. Step back," he threatened. "Ah, is poor old Kakashi afraid of the big bad demon?" Kakashi snorted. "You wish." Sakura meanwhile was stuck in her personal inner turmoil. She was looking at the situation with fear. She was afraid of being killed and then being forgotten when everybody she knew had died too. But she had promised the Hokage that she would help Naruto, she had promised him to protect her with her life. And she would not go back on that promise. A few days prior. And she then told me I would get executed for killing a cat. A cat, Hokage-sama. I know it's the daimyo wife's but still. She even called my hair atrocious, the nerve. Sakura's arms flailed around as she told the Hokage what had happened, her face red with anger. The Hokage shook his head. The girl may be smart but she had a long way to go. He could understand that the girl was upset but she was talking to the Hokage, not the psychologist, and he didn't have the patience nor the time to listen to all the complaints she had. "Look Sakura, I agree that Naruto overdid it, but I don't think you should be talking bad about her. She did, in a way, protect you from harm. Would you have listened to Naruto if she wasn't that vocal?" "Of course not," Sakura exclaimed. The Hokage had to do his best to refrain flinching. "Yep, she was a full-blooded Haruno all right. Okay, now think carefully about what would have happened if you had killed Tora. It's true you wouldn't have been executed, but that meant you would get punished, and believe me when I say that you absolutely don't want that. The daimyo may be a pacifist and against violence but he's very protective of his wife. The punishment wouldn't have been light. You should be thanking her instead of complaining." Sakura crossed her arms and pouted. "You're just siding with her because she's from an important clan." She then turned her face away from the Hokage, her pout still in place. "No offense, Hokage-sama, but that's not fair." The Hokage's eyes narrowed dangerously. He sat there looking at her, interlacing his fingers underneath his chin and bending his head towards her. "Miss Haruno, you have no idea what you are talking about." Her body became stiff and she shuddered involuntarily when his heavy voice reached her ears. Gone was the kind, weary old man she was talking to, in his place was the Hokage, a man who survived many wars and ruled over Konoha. She was unable to move nor speak as that very same man looked her dead in the eye. "Not only do you come here to waste my time but you also claim that it's unfair for Naruto to claim her birthright. I don't know if you're serious or not, but if you are against the 371th Shinobi law then there will be a trial in Konoha's main court which will be a public trial. The costs of this will be 25 million yen and shall be coming from your own bank account. This is not a joke Haruno-san. This will of course not mean that you will be victorious in Hokage-sama, what is the 371th Shinobi law exactly?" I don't recall learning about that law in the academy. Sakura asked, stuttering nervously. The 371th Shinobi Law. The prestigious clans and their respectable members should be respected and acted kindly upon, as these have helped Konoha since ancient times. Is one of the most important laws in Konoha. The reason this is not taught in the academy is simply because we don't want the children of important clans to be treated like gods in the academy. This, however, changes when they graduate and they have proved themselves to be capable shinobi worthy of their clan status. And you, Haruno-san, have broken this law more times than I could count. I am surprised that you still have your head. Most clan members would order for your immediate execution if you even did as much as insult them. But for you to even hit Naruto, I don't get why you are even alive. It surprises me that she even had the patience to keep calm for this long. Sakura's eyes widened. Naruto could order her execution every time she wanted? The realization hit her like a brick. A clan member of the branch family of the Hyuga clan could have her head for only insulting them, yet here she was, hitting the princess of Konoha like it was a normal custom in the village. Her blood became ice cold as cold sweat covered her forehead. Killed, I'll be killed. But it's understandable that she gave you multiple chances and I don't blame her. She wants to have a good companion who she can be a girl with like Hinata on her team. Naruto had realized that you could change, even though she wasn't fond of you. She trusted you. Sakura stared at the Hokage. He had to resist smiling as he realized that the girl began to understand the truth behind Naruto's actions, that is. But that's, Sakura yelled before she got silenced by the Hokage as he put his index to his lips and shook his head. No need to yell, Sakura. It's good if you understand. Sakura pursed her lips in disapproval. It isn't fair in another way now, isn't it? The Hokage said, his eyes softening slightly. Look, I'm just asking you to do the same for her. That girl comes here every week with bags under her eyes and with a scroll filled with paperwork. Naruto, as the last Uzumaki Namikaze, must do the paperwork her clan is given by herself. And unlike Sasuke, who finishes in one night if he doesn't sleep, she has more work and has to work much harder and longer. Sasuke needs to work for his clan as he is the current head of the Uchiha. Naruto, however, is the current head of the Uzumaki Namikaze clan and Konohakare's princess. She has to work as Konoha's princess, and as you could imagine, it's a lot more work. To strengthen your bonds, could you perhaps help her with her work? Protect her like she had done with you? I know it's a big thing to ask of you, but you'll be stuck in the team you are now, so isn't it good to strengthen your bond her? You're both girls, aren't you? I'll admit that Sasuke is a very handsome and attractive boy, but it's better to communicate and spend your time with all your teammates instead of just focusing on one of them. Sakura blinked a few times. Oh, okay. She fiddled with her fingers nervously until the Hokage coughed. There's one issue though. Sarutobi sighed. Naruto hides it well, but you see, Sakura, Naruto suffers from something called xenophobia, also known as the fear for unfamiliar people as well as claustrophobia. She can hide it because… The Hokage paused. I'll tell you later, but the gist of it is that Naruto panics if several people are closing up on her, especially people she doesn't know. And a panicking Naruto is dangerous. You could say that she's like a cornered animal, and those are the most dangerous animals of them all. Try to calm her when this happens. I'll explain how to calm her down in a minute. Now, are there any more questions? Sakura stared at the man until she absorbed his words and jumped, awake, as you could say. A question? I don't have one, do I? Oh, wait. I do. Yeah, I have one. She exclaimed, completely reverted to her normal self. Her scar, you know. The scar on her back. What happened? The leader of the village flinched before he opened his drawer and took his pipe from the upper drawer. He used a small fire technique to light it and took a big puff from it. Asuka, get me the file of that incident please, he yelled. Sakura heard a soft, yes, Lord Hokage, from behind the doors and looked at the Hokage in confusion. Her leader looked at her with a grave expression. You'll understand in a minute. And understand it she did. Back to today. Her hand unconsciously went to her right pocket where the reminders of their conversation was kept. And she hoped she didn't have to use some of them very soon. The things she had heard and seen was atrocious. It was disgusting to see Naruto like that. It wasn't even something she wished for, nor was it her fault. No, it was someone else's, and that was why it was so disgusting to her. How could a human being do that to another one? Sakura had seen how the people of Konoha called Naruto names and looked at her, so she thought someone had carved that horrible word on her back because they hated her. But it seemed like there was a lot more going on in the background. Much, much more than she could ever imagine. She had been thinking about it lately. And as a result lost her concentration during most of the mission. She spaced out and stared at the same spot for what seemed like hundreds of times. She also felt some kind of protectiveness over her. No wonder Hinata was so protective of Naruto. Her cheerful and easygoing yet wise and kind personality hid the fact that Naruto was a lot frailer and weak than people thought. Not only her body was frail but her mind was as well. Her pain was hidden away deep inside the deepest part of Naruto's heart and only came out when she was with people she trusted with her life. That's why Hinata got mad when people were too brash or wild around Naruto. It was because she had seen the real Naruto. It was not like this Naruto was fake or something, it was just that she hid a lot. Sakura was impressed by it, to be honest. She knew that she herself would never be able to hide her pain like that. She would cry and let out her frustrations so they wouldn't become a burden to her later. The Naruto that she had come to know these past weeks was social and could talk with almost everyone. She dared to open her mouth and curse, so she was in no means shy. But as she thought back to certain moments she started to see little details she didn't pay much attention to before the conversation. When Tazuna gave her a pat on the head on the first night of the mission, she flinched slightly before closing her eyes for a split second. When she opened her eyes, she relaxed into the touch, but it did show that Naruto had to force herself to stay calm. Even if it was just a little bit. They got closer after and created a bond after that though. It was like Naruto tried to find a family to fit into, with Kakashi as some doting older brother and the Hokage as a kind grandfather. Seems like she got another family member. Sakura felt kind of out of place. Sasuke had lost his family, his whole clan, because his brother had gone mad for reasons unknown, and it was almost the exact same thing with Naruto. Those two had much more in common than her. She had decided to stop being so mean to Naruto, but she hadn't given up on Sasuke, and it irked her that those two understood each other more than she ever could. She was jealous, but she wouldn't make Naruto a victim of her jealousy, that much she could promise. Zabuza was grinning at her teacher. His eyes had a dangerous gleam. It was like a devil of destruction was standing before her. And it looked like he could kill her whenever he wanted. The man ignored her teacher's threats and kept walking towards them. Naruto mimicked the missing nin's face and grinned back, not even looking scared in the slightest. "You ready, demon? As ready as I will ever be, you devil." Naruto jumped off Kakashi's shoulders and fell on her butt. "Ow!" she screamed. Sakura flinched. That looked like it hurt. Naruto tried to push herself up. She slowly crawled on her knees before trying to get her legs to support her. She pushed herself up with her left leg before quickly putting her weight on both her legs and feet. She wobbled slightly before she lost her footing. She closed her eyes as she fell, afraid of knowing when she was going to hit the ground. But before she hit the ground someone caught her. "Seriously, you're such a troublesome child. I was coming to you, you know. No need to get impatient." Naruto opened her eyes and tried to wiggle herself out of Zabuza's grip. But like she thought, she was too weak. "Stupid, dumb, weak body," she mumbled. Zabuza smiled softly, but it went unseen. "Yep, she hasn't changed at all. Still the same stubborn kid I used to know. Let's settle this another time, Naruto. I'll just lie to the fat lord and tell him that the old man's protected by elite shinobi and need to think of a plan to defeat them. We'll fight later. I don't need your pity." Naruto yelled. She clenched her teeth. She never got sick or weak like this, and to be treated like this was hurting her pride. "I'm fine. Everybody keeps treating me like a little kid. Do you have any idea how many times people told me to get some rest and take it easy? It's annoying me. Are you mad? I know you and I can see that you're not fine. Naruto, I know it's humiliating to be cared for when you're sick, but I don't think you understand why people care for you when this is the case. People care for you so you get well soon. If you keep pushing yourself, it's only going to get worse. You should let them help you." "Yes, Mom. And don't use that tone when you're talking to me, young lady. I'm going to give you 1 week to rest, and if you don't, you know what will follow." Naruto's eyes widened. "You wouldn't." "Oh yes I would, Tilda." Zabuza was really enjoying this. "Karma's a bitch, isn't it, Squirt?" "No, not the Pocky. Anything but the Pocky, I beg of you." Kakashi fell flat on his face. "Pocky? He's bribing her with Pocky? Great, when she enters the bingo book there will be a description with weaknesses, her height and Pocky. They did the same with my heavenly literature. Kashi, Sasu, Saku, please help me. I beg of you. He's going to tie me up and eat my Pocky collection in front of my nose. Just you wait, Momo-chan. When I'm Hokage, I shall declare Pocky a holy artifact. Believe it? Yeah, sure you will, you Pocky addict. I doubt there is someone with the same serious addiction to Pocky like you. Ha ha ha, that's good one. No, there actually is. In a dark cave, the members of the Akatsuki were eating their dinner with all of them something else on their plates. Sasori had sobi, Kakuzu had caviar, Deidara had dango, Pain had a mountain of carrots, Conan had onigiri, Hidan had a raw decapitated squirrel on his plate, which was covered in weird signs. Kisame was munching on some dried fish like a shark would have done. Zetsu had a whole corpse of a man on his side of the table which most members stayed away from, and Itachi had a ton of Pocky. And thank you for all the flavors Pocky exists in this world. All hail to Pocky, Pichu. Everyone stopped eating and stared at their slightly psychotic version of every teenage girl's wet dream. Did that motherfucker just say, Pichu, when he sneezed? Itachi, why the hell dude? Why do you sneeze like a damn chick? Itachi glared at the white-haired Jushinist. I was born this way. He started munching on the delicious sticks of holiness with joy. I have the feeling someone's talking about me. That's all for now. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.